Hey, this is Rikki ROXX, and you are listening to ROXX100.com.
The Big Rock.
The Big Rock. Keeping the music alive.
Bon Jovi. Lenny Kravitz.
Hey, all you rockers. This is Johnny J, your host for The Big Rock. Catch me right here on ROXX 100 as we are keeping the music alive, rocking the 70s, 80s, and 90s. The Big Rock on ROXX 100.
Rock. The Big Rock. The Big Rock.
Everything that rocks. Rocks.
Hey folks, head on down to Earl's Meat Shack. Featuring the area's finest selection of new and used meat sticks. We've got everything. Buffalo patty jerky, we've got dick sticks, salami slices, and we even have those pterodactyl flavored everything. If you hit a raccoon, porcupine, or squirrel, we'll lug it in. We'll turn that late night tragedy into a tasty snack. That thump with your fender never tasted so damn good. We're located in the parking lot of the Dixieland Dirt Mall, just off of Jabroni Street on Telegraph. Head on down. That's Earl's Meat Shack.
Hey kids, would you like to be a rock god the likes of David Lee Roth in his heyday? Then you need to get the
RIKKI ROXX Rock God Starter Kit.
Each kit comes complete with black nail polish, eyeliner, sparkly scarf, an actual chick magnet, a velvet jacket to make all the girls go wild, and an over-the-hat skull cap with bandana accessory. Act Now will also include a handy booklet showing you all the best places to wear your sunglasses at night. Regularly a $29.95 value, now yours free when you take advantage of this fabulous offer. But don't act just yet. We'll also throw in a wall poster chart diagramming all the best rock faces to enchant your audience, proven to wet the ladies' panties in mere seconds. For all you newbies, this great kit also includes a CD demonstrating how to push your voice for the radio, taught by RIKKI ROXX himself. So quit being a big puss and man up rock style with the
RIKKI ROXX Rock God Starter Kit.
Now yours for just $29.95 plus $99.95 shipping and handling. Call now. 1-800-ROCK-GOD. That's 1-800-ROCKGOD. Now. Operators and tattooed hookers are standing by to take your order.
Do your best before making an arrest. What you gonna pick? Cop pockets when you don't want something salady. Avoid police brutality. What you gonna pick? Cop pockets.
Cop pockets, filled with juicy jelly, mouth-watering maple and bacon, and creamy custard on a crispy donut.
When you want an easy meal while you're busting that your deal. What you gonna pick? Cop pockets.
The cop meal in a pocket. What you gonna pick?
Cop pockets.
Did you wake up this morning with a nasty rash and nothing but regret? Did you go home with a sweaty bass player last night? Did you wake up wanting to chew your own arm off because some skank's laying on it? Are you feeling a burning itching sensation in your crotchal region? Do you feel like you need to scratch your ass with tree bark? Are you walking around like you were banged with a Scud missile? Did you meet someone at the bar you thought would actually call you back? Idiot! Then you need Skankosporin. It'll cool that burning sensation before you do the walk of shame to the cab. That's Skankosporin Itch Paste.
Available at In-N-Out Party Stores, Bottles and Stuff, 8 Mile Liquor, and Cunningham Drugs.
Come from the desert, where love don't grow, and over the snakes can shed your hideaway.
following program is recommended for mature individuals and may contain material unsuitable for morons, cretins, and dishwipes. If you are a moron or a member of the PTL Club, please turn off your radio, because we don't need any more stupid, narrow-minded, pencil-neck geeks who wouldn't know the First Amendment if it came up and bit them on the butt. Thank you.
Rikki rocks, Rikki rocks. It's Rikki Rocks, coming out of the box. Bitches come in flocks, trying to steal his jocks. He needs to be contained with padded rocks. It's the Rikki Rock Show, spreading like the pox. Rikki rocks, Rikki rocks. Rikki rocks, Rikki rocks, yeah. Rikki rocks, Rikki rocks. Rikki rocks, Rikki rocks, yeah. Rikki rocks up in your grill, motherfucker.
All right. Too many damn buttons, I'll tell you.
Oh, my God. Every time.
I know. There's literally five different things I have to hit down for this thing to go right. So you guys
That's why he's a bass player.
There's too much. I was trying to get it, start early and then I'm like, ooh, echo. No good. So, yeah, here we are, episode number 110 of The Rikki ROXX Show right here on Rocks100.com, brought to you by IHatePeople.club, vulgar clothing for the introvert and all of us. Use coupon code Rocks100 for 20% off your entire order while you're surfing those interwebs for your greatest news, having to deal with local music venues. If you're tired of that, head on over to patreon.com/Rocks100 and consider being a Patreon patron. I promise you I will not be buying drugs with that money. I am Rikki ROXX, joined as always by Mr. Kevin. Oh, I was going to write this out today, too. I was going to come up with a nice long name for you, but I had to write it all out. And
that long?
Pre-plan it.
Wow.
I was going to pre-plan
Now,
the
is this
name.
flattering or is this like laughing at me?
It wouldn't have been flattering. I was just gonna look up the most bizarre names in the world, and
oh Jesus,
because I read something like Prince whatever his face is in Europe or in England, legally his name is 2 paragraphs long.
Are you fucking serious?
Yeah, because he's the prince of all these different dominions and shit.
Are you for real?
Yeah.
Wow.
Prince Charles or whatever.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah, technically his name's super long.
Lord Everett III Charles Senior
it's Prince
Esquire.
Charles of Sussex and
oh my God,
Lord Emperor of the Greater Dominion of weird shit like that. It's legally super long.
That's fucking hilarious.
Legally his name is Prince Charles of Windsor.
So this is gonna take a tangent real quick, but that specifically, when Harlow was on tour, I was giving directions to Kelly, and he was like, "Hey, what's the name of the city?" And I said "Oh, it's Smithton Fieldvilleburg Creek." And I kept going on and on and on, and he was like, I'm not seeing that at all. And we just died laughing. So the running joke for when we were talking about towns is we'd add a Fieldville to everything.
Clevelandville. What?
Yeah, it was just a joke, but as you were.
Okay. So, you guys all share this on your social media and all that. We got a great show. We have Paul Smith from the Strains that we're going to be talking to in the 8 o'clock hour. We have our Nuts and Bolts. We have our Beer of the Week. We have our Pump It or Dump It Band of the Week. We have the Casting Shadow Show. We got to go over in the drama surrounding that band. Casting Shadows with a
Juicy.
Z. I'm so pissed. And also, if Kevin wants to get into it, drama in Metro Detroit. 2021. Only in Warren, Michigan.
Well, Chris is listening, so I hope she's okay with it.
Well, you posted a fucking Bible about the goddamn thing. I literally had to take 2 pee breaks, while I was reading this. I'm like, okay, paragraph 20, I got time for a break.
I was trying to be thorough.
You're a very good writer, Kevin. I got to at least give that to you.
You should have seen all the grammatical errors I had to fix, because Kelly would have eaten me a fucking live because he was a grammar Nazi.
Yeah. Where the fuck's your commas, Kevin?
Mm-hmm.
That one deserved a colon, not a period.
Exactly.
She says do it if you want.
Okay.
I guess for posterity purposes, because Kevin may very well disappear after this show or during the show, because I guess it's not that hard to find out where I live.
Google.
Italianos.
Oh, Jesus.
Raslog, we're here for you. Open the fucking door. You about to die.
Jesus.
Dude, it took balls, man.
Hey, you fucked up my camera.
Oh, did I fuck up? Oh,
Yeah,
I
you're
did fuck up
banging
the
so
camera.
hard.
Jesus, I was banging hard. There it is.
Well, sometimes, it takes balls to be me.
Those were, I don't know if those are balls your small little body can handle, man. That's a lot of balls. So we'll get into that in a little bit. We'll start out with something nice and fancy, and we'll get to our nuts and bolts and harsh truths. This is where we answer your questions about anything having to do with music, relationship advice, band advice. We could sure use some right now in Casting Shadows. We could use some band advice. We'll get into that and a whole bunch more later. This week, a repeat question, or not a repeat question, but a repeat question asker.
Oh, okay.
Nick, he's back from Detroit. He says, this may be a loaded question with a lot going in to answer it, but I'm in a new band, and we have all been in bands before where you just drop a record and see what happens, akin to throwing shit at the wall and seeing if it sticks, and it never does. We wanted to go at this record, our first together, with more of a game plan as far as how to approach putting out the material and how much it should all cost. Any help would be cool. Thanks. I picked this question because we are going through the same thing right now. So in Casting Shadows. So I figured that this would be a great question to answer and then segue into Casting Shadows.
So there's kind of two trains of thought with that, because if you were to come up to me and say, hey, like, my band's doing this is our budget, I would be able to tell you, like, okay, this is probably what you're capable of doing. In my mind, if you save up X amount more, this is what you should do.
Yeah.
So I think the first thing they should do is definitely figure out what they can afford, because the rule of thumb is every time you're in a band, there's at least one person that just can't fucking do it.
Don't be a fucking Chad.
So you end up eating that cost, or you and the other two.
Okay, well,
members.
let's start there. At a bare minimum, what should be a band's budget? When they're going to game plan a new record.
Okay, so before I go into the smorgasbord of this question, are we talking recording, mixing, mastering, duplicating?
Sure, let's go into that
merch,
first. I mean, it's hard to get into because. If you're in LA, your budget record studio is going to probably be charging a lot more than your budget recording studio in Boise, Idaho.
Right.
So with the record, take that with a grain of salt depending on where you're from. If you're in New York, LA, Nashville, your big hubs of music, I have a hunch those recording costs are probably be exponentially larger.
Okay, let's dial it back. So let's just say, even if you're a new band, regardless of their situation, they said they want to do it right, which is good. Okay, let's throw out the working with like a BJ Perry. Even though those are great people to work with, that requires moolah.
Yeah.
So let's dial it back, go to a lesser known studio that we're in 2021. Technology makes recording infinitely. It levels the playing field.
So go with the guy that you have heard their material that they do, and it sounds good. If
not radio fucking good, like,
where you have, what do they call it, 808s?
Yeah, when people are dropping thousands of dollars, and then also working with a producer. That's not an
engineer.
Exactly.
A producer.
Exactly.
If you don't know the difference, an engineer hits record.
Yeah.
Producers will be like, yo, dog, this song fucking sucks.
Right.
Fix it.
Yeah, and I mean, when you record with, who's the guy that Wilson recorded with? Shane Grush.
Okay, I was never come up with that.
Once again, another great person to work with. He worked with, I think We Came as Romans as well before they got big. Those are not those aren't just engineers. Those are producers. Like they literally help you write the song. You literally live at the studio and you work with them.
Yeah.
That's what you're paying for.
Yep.
So in this instance, you and your band do your due diligence.
And a producer is going to cost a lot more than an engineer.
Exactly. You guys do your due diligence. You write some bangers. If you can, I would suggest pre-recording them before you go to said studio, just so that person has an idea of what to expect.
Demo them out.
Exactly. I would try. Most phones are decent enough to get it, but I would try to have some sort of a better little setup for it. But whatever, that's semantics at this point. So, all right, figure out a budget for that. I would say, now are we talking an EP, an LP?
Let's go what seems to be what I'm seeing a lot of bands do, 5 songs. I'm seeing a lot of bands putting out stuff about 5 songs, 4 or 5 songs.
So with that being said, I personally would say if you can go in and cut 3 songs, doesn't have to be 5, depends on your confidence and your recording ability and how much time that's going to take.
Yeah.
Now, if you haven't recorded before, maybe try to just block off 2 days.
Well, in this question, he said they've all done records before. You know, this is just a new band, and they don't want to fuck it up this time.
Okay, so we'll just go the route of blocking off 3-4 days, right? You should be able to knock all of that out.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to the budget, it's really tough to say. I mean, when George and I, when we recorded the 3 songs, we did it under the guise of like he was charging us per song, and we knocked them out like incredibly quick.
Yeah.
So it's subjective. I mean, it could average out to 300 a song or 500 a song. I mean,
So,
it's tough.
you know,
It's
this-
a tough question to answer.
This is, you know, we kind of alluded to it with the find a producer that, you know, one, does the type of music you're doing. You know, if you're in a thrash metal band, don't go to the guy that's producing country music.
Yeah.
You know, kind of thing like that. He knows how to do country. He might not be able to drop, he might not even know what the fuck a bass drop is when you're, or synthesizers and effects and all this shit.
Right.
You know, it might not even know. So find that producer wherever the fuck you are. Don't, you know, that like, oh man, this band has an awesome sounding record. It's literally that easy. You know, if you're, you know, into your local scene, wherever the hell you are, and you buy or download or listen to that band, you know, that local band, and be like, man, that sounds great. It's very easy to find out who the fuck recorded it.
I mean, for these guys' a specific instance, I feel like their best option is to...
Well, they're from Detroit, so I guess you can drop some names.
So for you guys, you know, you could hit up like Mick, what was the studio? I can't remember what his was.
Maslowski, Zoinga.
Yeah, you could hit up Zoinga, like Metro, like hit up a bunch of them. See what quotes are for blocks of time. I mean, go and look at who they've worked with. Now, most of these people will try and be like, oh, well, I recorded, you know, Taking Back Sunday.
Yeah.
They're going to name drop the bigger acts.
Yeah.
And understand when they do that, those bands are getting more money to put into it from labels or, you know, however they get funded.
Yeah.
And they take top priority over, you know, bands of our nature. But that doesn't mean they're not going to do a good job. So this is where you look at, okay, Metro quoted us this, Pearl quoted us this, Mick quoted us this. This is where you look at everyone in the band and go, okay, if we divide these up, you know, per member, it's going to cost X amount. What can we afford? Because at the end of the day, once you're done recording, you're not done. Then you got to get it mastered, and then you got to get it duplicated. So,
okay, so let's go with that. You know, since this guy is in Detroit, I guess we can use some Detroit numbers, you know, as far as recording. There's your top end guys, not going to drop names, but, you know, there's guys that'll charge you $1,000, $1,500 a song. There's guys at the other end that will charge you $200, $300 a song. You know, so if you are, you know, if you decide to go that route, you know, of the more affordable, I don't like saying cheaper because it's just more affordable.
It's disingenuous.
Yeah. The more affordable one, say you're going to do 3 songs. Okay, you go with the more affordable guy, might cost you ballpark $1,000 to knock all that out, just recording it.
Yep.
Or you can go with the upper end guy, you're looking at maybe $4,500. Take this into account as well. You get what you pay for.
Yep.
You know, and no shot at Mick. He was more of an engineer.
Right.
He is very.
But that's
he's
also
very
a very
good at
point,
recording.
though. Like,
he's very good at recording.
If this band goes into it doing all their due diligence, they don't need a producer. They just really need an engineer. So depending on how this band is,
but at the same point, isn't it nice to kind of just, you know, if you have the money, to have that unbiased ear?
Oh, it totally is. But let's be honest, not every band's in that position. And honestly, there are just some musicians out there that think their shit is the best. They don't want to have somebody chime in, and, you know, more power to them if that's how they want to roll. This specific situation, we're at least giving you the option. Like, always understand you have options.
Right.
Just like with, like, tattoo artists, right? You know,
we'll get to your tattoo later. Don't worry about it.
It was just a good thing to bring up, though. So yeah, after you figure that out, like Rikki said, the process isn't done. You got to do the mixing, mastering, or depending on if that studio does it too, it could be an incurred extra cost.
Usually mastering, this is what I've learned through a lot of trial and error. If you're going with the whole in-house mastering, the same place you recorded. I've
never gone that route, by the way.
I've done this every single band I've been in. Don't do it. Because the guy may be great at mixing and recording, but mastering is a whole different game.
Art, yeah.
It's a whole different game that involves, and if you don't know what mastering is, it pretty much...
It's like the levels.
It evens out the sound of the whole collection of sound where, say your lead guitar in one song will match the lead guitar in the second song, third song, fourth song, fifth song. Your snare's not going to be...
Here's a good example. How many times have you been at a show where you bitched because you couldn't hear one person in the band, whether it's the guitar, the singer, the drums? This is what, when you record, the mastering does. It makes everything cohesive.
Well, the mastering, if you don't do mastering, this is what the live show equivalent is. You hear a blistering lead guitar in the first song. Then you go to the second song, that lead guitar is lost in the mix.
There you go. That was the analogy I was trying to go for.
The next song, you can't hear the snare anymore. The song after that, the vocals die out. When you master it, everything is even from song to song to song to song to song. Your lead guitar is going to be at one level, your drums are going to be at one level, your vocals are going to be at uniform across the whole spectrum of the songs in the collection.
Yep.
And yes, the guy may be a great mixer, but mastering will add that girth, that bigness, and make it all flow from one song to the next. And that I've never taken my music to a mastering. What kind of numbers are we looking at when you go to mastering?
I've never been involved in that part of it.
Yeah.
And we already had the budget and everything figured out, so I don't know what we spent. All I know is when we had the mixes done and everything and we sent them off, when we got the masters back, it was just like night and day. Like everything was just the levels, everything. When you hear a good song on the radio, that's like what you get in return.
Yeah.
Like just from the audible sense, like the levels and everything's perfect.
Mastering compresses everything, gets everything to where it needs to be on the audio range, rather than, when you get a mix back.
Yeah, something like some of my splash cymbals, you can barely fucking hear them.
Yeah.
And then when we got the masters back, I was just like, oh, you can hear everything. It's nice and crisp.
Everything that needs to cut through, cuts through.
Exactly.
Okay, so we got, we're talking Metro Detroit, so I guess we're talking between $300 and $1,500 a song. If you're doing 4 songs,
$300, by the way.
$300. You're looking at $1,200 to record and mix. Usually, if you're recording it, they're pretty good at mixing.
I would say at the bare minimum, and this is like scraping bottom of the barrel, $1,000 for the recording and mixing. Just like as a safe number at the bare minimum, and you got to go into that expecting not the best results. So let's just start with $1,000.
All right, so we have the record recorded. We have it mastered. At this point, you're looking at the low end. Let's just say mastering costs you $1,000 for the whole thing. Let's just put a number.
I'd say that's probably safe.
Let's throw a number at it.
Because I think we did $200 a song or $250. Maybe.
Let's just put a flat $1,000 on it to get it properly mastered.
So now we're up to $2,000.
You're up to $2,000 and some
minimum.
change.
Bare minimum.
You're at $2,000 at this stage. So the album is done. You have all your songs recorded. They're all mastered, all nice and pretty. You've done the drive test. Everything sounds banging. You're stoked. You want to put this thing out. You want to throw it on Spotify.
No.
Go to the show, your very next show. CD release. We're ready to roll.
Don't work that way.
No, it doesn't work that way. Kevin, what am I missing in this equation?
This magical C word that we fucking say relentlessly, content. So, like, every band's guilty of it. I've been guilty of it. But once you get that shit, like, the battle's just begun. You got to put out fucking music videos. And notice how I said videos, not video.
Plural.
So we had this discussion. It was met with a little bit of angst and not understanding, but bands, big bands, they do these things called tour cycles, right? So, like a band, August Burns Red comes out with a new album. Boom, they got a video the day of the release. Then maybe a month or two later, boom, another video. So the whole purpose of this is you make that investment to do a tour or cycle for that album. So when you drop that fucking album, not only should you have one video done, you should already have 1 or 2 extra ones on the back burner.
Yeah.
Because what do you do when you come out with new music? You play shows. If you're playing a lot of shows because people like your music and this and that, does that leave you other time to shoot videos, do photo shoots, get merch?
Exactly.
So the whole, okay, recording is this much. Okay. Well, then you got to factor in, what were we at, $2,000? Before duplication.
Before duplication.
So this is the thing. Once you get the final mixes and masters back, you don't go right into the duplication. You identify we're doing a video for song A, a video for song B. Let's just say 2 videos.
Okay, let's do 2.
So we're at $2,000. I would say bare minimum $1,500 per video.
Yeah.
So we're looking at $3,000 for 2 videos.
Unless you really know a guy that's
exactly.
really good.
And that's why it's arbitrary.
Yeah.
So we're at $3,000 for 2 videos, $2,000 for mixing, mastering, recording.
You're at $5K.
5K. Right now. All right. So those videos are done. Now you can talk about duplication. I think Shudder paid, I want to say around $1,000. It was 1,000 CDs.
So you're talking about
posters.
a buck and some change maybe per CD.
We overpaid. Well, no, we didn't overpay. We overbought.
Yeah.
I would say for duplication.
What's a good number for a local band?
I would say 600 to be safe because it's
okay.
You want to have a good amount of stock, but you don't want to go overboard like we did when you have 12 fucking boxes left over.
Yeah, I still have a fucking box in my garage.
All right, so we were at $5,000, another 600. We're at like 5,600.
Yeah.
So then you got to have merch, right?
Got to have merch.
So this is the next part of it. Now, some people will want to do just like a T-shirt or maybe wristbands. Me personally, I would say take another $1,500 and dump it into merch.
That sounds about right.
So you're talking multiple items. You're hitting the $3 to $5 price range, the $5 to $10 price range, and the $10 to $15
Case in
price
point, you know, Casting Shadows, we just had a new T-shirt we launched at the Tantric show, which we'll get to in a little bit. Got 100 of those. It cost me $500 and some change. It was like $514 or something like that.
Which isn't bad. And
about
those are
$5 and some
nice
change.
Shirts too.
$5 and some change. You know, I didn't get the shitty cardboard Gildans. You know, I got some, you know, mid-range Hanes.
Yeah.
Cotton flow.
Nothing angers me more
shit.
than the just the simple one color black and white band logo shirt, and they charge $20 for it.
Way to go, Jeff.
I'm like, dude, sorry, I could buy a fucking Wage War Deftones shirt that's significantly like more in depth in like an actual comfortable shirt for like $10 more. You know what I mean?
Than your cardboard Gildan heavyweights.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're looking at. So you said about $1,500 with merch. So with merch, you could probably
we're looking at like $7,000 total right now.
With $1,500, you could probably get one good T-shirt design and
some
then
wristbands, some stickers, and maybe a couple other little trinkets.
Get fucking creative. I was telling Jeff, I'm like, dude, we can get like fucking ashtrays made or flasks.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, think of shit that your fans are into. I mean, like, shot glasses are obvious, but personally, glass, not really my thing. But like we did the beer koozies; those were a really big hit, especially during festivals.
Yeah.
The wristbands always did good. I always like just having a variety of stickers.
Yeah.
People will stick those fucking anywhere.
So would it be safe for a band, you know, that's building their merch, you know, to start with a one design, you know, one T-shirt design? You have your CD, of course, and then use, you know, get a smattering of other stuff. You know, get the latex wristbands that you can sell for $1.
Yeah. So like a lot of people will think like, okay, I'm talking from a business perspective, right?
Yeah.
And we had this discussion, so you already know where I'm going. You have a potential fan at the show. You blew them away, right? They walk up to your merch table. All you have is a T-shirt, and it's $20. Dude opens his wallet, has no credit cards. All he has is like $12 in cash.
Yeah.
He obviously can't afford the shirt.
Yeah.
Well, he could afford the CD, but that's about it, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Why would you just pigeonhole yourself there when you can, like I said, hit $3 to $5, $5 to $10, $10 to $15? Because then if that person goes, oh man, like I really want this, but I only got us $12, you could be like, hey bro, like I'll throw in like 5 stickers on top of this.
See, me as a fan, you know, and I've been in this situation plenty of times where I'd go to a show, and after my alcoholism debauchery is done, and I look at what I have left in my wallet, it's usually maybe like a 20 and a spattering of ones hastily crumpled up and thrown in my wallet. So I'm like, I got $20. me, I'm like, man, I don't want just a t-shirt. It'd be nice if I can walk out 2 things.
That's what I'm saying.
You
if
can
you
buy
hit
like
those price points, you can do that.
Whether it be, $20, everybody usually carries 20s. That's pretty much the
ATM standard.
That's the standard. Everybody's going to have some 20s.
Unless you do other bill choice.
So that's how I approach it. It's like, I don't want to spend $20 and just have one fucking thing.
Right.
I'd like to have 2 things, either
tangible assets. That's like your fans' best thing is they want tangible things.
Either I can get like a t-shirt and a CD, or if I already have the CD, a brand new t-shirt. Ooh, I want the brand new t-shirt. Maybe I'll pick up a couple wristbands and, I don't know, throw in another low budget option out there, like a custom lighter or something like that. Or, I already have the t-shirt. I'll spend $10 on this cool flask and then buy the CD or buy the stickers and the koozies, have those options, because everybody has 20s. They want more than one thing.
And let's be honest, when somebody walks by a merch table and sees like one thing, they already know, that's all I can afford. Like, if you have multiple things on display, not only are you getting them to stop, but they're going to inquire. They're going to look.
Okay, so we have the record done. It's mixed, mastered, duplicated. You got your merch lined up, and you got the 2 videos.
We're at $7,000, I think.
Ballpark. Okay. So you have all this shit lined up. You got the record, you got your merch, you got the videos. The videos are sitting in your back pocket. We just have to get these out. At what point do you do the big CD release? The big, let's throw this out to the world. Let's put it on Spotify. Let's put it on Amazon. Let's get it out to everybody. When do you do this?
I think when you're at that point, you're probably going to be at mercy of the duplication, because even though you paid for it, it takes time to get it. And trust me, don't pay the extra money to have them expedite it, because it's not worth it, because sometimes they don't actually deliver it.
So let's just say you have the CD, you have your CDs in hand.
Yes.
You got the multiple boxes. You're like, oh God, how the hell am I going to get rid of this shit?
The big thing is with the online stuff.
Yeah.
So to be fair and completely honest, if you have all that stuff done, I would just book the CD release show and fucking do it. And then once all the other stuff actually goes live, that will be incentive for the people to come to your show. Because even if it's not live on Spotify, Pandora, or whatever, you can still, if you'll have an idea of when it will be coming out.
Yeah.
I would think a better, smarter business standpoint would be like, hey, you can come see us a week before it goes live for our CD release show. Hopefully you'll increase your sales. But that's subject to if you want to do it the same day. But like I said, you're at the mercy of when those people have it go live.
Right. Okay, so you have all that. Your CD release is booked. Everything is at go live. Let's just say everything goes live on Spotify, Pandora, Amazon, the whole gamut. It's all going live. And then let's just say a week after the CD release, boom, everything goes live. Everything's out there in the world. You have these music videos sitting in your back pocket. How do you approach putting those out? Do you just throw them out there? You just throw them out there and be like, yo, here's a new music video, and share it to 500 different groups. Boom, here we go. We're done. We're on our way to rock stardom.
I mean, so this is the thing. At that point, I would say you're in the 7,000, let's just say $7,000 to $10,000 ballpark, right? Which is a pretty safe, honest number. To amply push it with PR and stuff, you're really looking at least another couple $1,000s.
Okay.
Do you need to do that? Not necessarily.
So what are you using this money on? I'm sure Nick or whoever is curious. They're like, fuck, man, I'm already $7,000 into this shit. 5-guy band, we're at
bust out another 1,000. It's like a boat, man.
We're at $1,200 a person now.
No, $1,200 total.
Well, $1,200 per person
yeah.
in the band if you're in a 5-guy band or something like that.
So here's the real fork in the road. At this point, do you have a vehicle and a trailer capable of doing at least weekend stuff? If you do,
no.
Well, hold on.
We don't.
If you do, I think at this point, instead of dumping that $2,000 or however much it is into PR, try venturing out of state a little bit. What that will do is those promoters in those areas are obviously going to share your shit. You're going to play for new people.
Yeah.
Now, at some point, you are
got to unload that merch somewhere.
That too. And this is how you make it more economical. My whole thing with Shutter and Harlow was I don't want it to be, we need $5,000 from you right now.
Yeah.
I'd rather space it out.
Yeah.
Make it more friendly, to your wallet. So if you don't have the means to do the Weekend Warriors, then by all means, dump that $2,000 into PR.
Yeah.
That's going to work.
Your social media advertising and
You can't
sponsored
go out and
posts.
play, 12, 13 hours away.
Yeah.
So you got to get the music out there. If you do all the other shit that we've talked about, you do want to sort of recoup that money.
Yeah.
When you dump all that money into PR, like, you're not necessarily going to get the return on the videos, right?
Right.
But it's going to be social media numbers, maybe some merch. If you do have the tour vehicle,
And if your social media numbers go up, if you rack
That
up
helps.
thousands and thousands of likes and all this shit, it bides in your favor when you do decide to maybe play. If you're in, like Nick in Detroit, go play in Cleveland or Akron or something like that. Be like, hey, we have 5 million followers on Facebook. We need $700.
Yep.
Be like, oh, well, you obviously have the reach to reach people. So yeah, not a big deal.
Yep.
Kind of thing like that.
So let's go worst case scenario, right?
Worst case scenario. This is the Rikki ROXX Bible.
So
here.
we
Let's
were
go.
at $7,000 to $10,000. Let's say you don't want to dump the money into PR. You guys want to hit the fucking road and be rock stars.
You want to fucking go out, be fucking Rikki ROXX.
So I would say between a trailer and a vehicle, let's say $15,000. So $15,000, and we were at what? 7 to 10?
Yeah, so you're at 22.
Let's say 22 to 25,000.
Yeah.
And that's like to just go.
Yeah.
And that's not like hotels, food, strings, sticks.
And
Like,
gotta throw this out there as well. Some guy in the band might be a dad of 5 kids and have that nice Astro van or something like that can tow a trailer that they use for their garden or their lawn care maintenance business. So you might have this stuff already.
But we're just, like I said, worst case scenario.
Worst case scenario.
And it's really helpful because some people think very short-sighted about the whole gamut of what we just went over.
Right.
Like, we literally spent almost 20 minutes going over this broad subject of what does it take.
Yeah.
Now, we could go to even more extreme examples. Like, there's been plenty of bands that have paid significantly more and gotten way less.
So for the band out there that's like, okay, we're spending this money, like you said, $1,500 for a music video. Say you have 2 or 3 of those under your belt. How do you space those out? Do you throw them all out in one big push? Do you spread
Like the
them?
videos and stuff?
Yeah. Say you have 3 videos. Say you did three music videos. You're down for a certain amount of time. You rack up 3 music videos. You work. You have 3 music videos done. They're not released or anything like that. They're all done. They're in your back pocket before you even do your fucking CD release. They're all fucking there. They're all done, ready to go. How do you approach putting those out?
Once again,
while I go grab a beer,
the whole cycle part. So I think realistically, do the release, and then from there, it's going to be dependent on a lot of internal factors. But I would say either drop that video shortly after, or maybe once the aura of you guys dies down a little bit, you could drop it then. But in my opinion, I would do the CD release, and then within 3 months of that, I would say we either need to start doing Weekend Warriors heavily or like an actual tour. And let's just go with you're going to actually go on a tour. Let's say it's 12 days, 14 days, not anything crazy. Drop that video a week before you go out on a tour. Put a couple $100 into social media posting it. Cool. So then let's say the next 6 months, you guys are going to go out, every other weekend or do a couple runs here and there. Once again, halfway through that period, drop the second video. Then we got to think of it as coming to the end of that cycle, because that band will have to stop playing out as much and focus on writing and recording and do it all over again.
Right.
So this is where the cycle is really fucked up. So let's say that last tour ends in like December, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're like, okay, it's December now. We're in Michigan, right? So we're not going to be touring necessarily.
Ain't nobody want to go lug their drums through 2 feet of snow.
So my personal thought would be, if and when you can, you should already be writing and working on the next album.
Yeah.
You don't want to wait for that last minute, because it could take you 6 months to write it and then record it. So try to be diligent about that. You've got to think multitasking the entire time.
A question that I know a lot of people that hear this or might hear this are going to be asking, why should I get all those music videos and spend, say you're doing 3 videos at, let's just, your $1,500 cost. Mm-hmm. Why spend that $4,500 all in one spot to knock those 3 out? Why not just do one, do some shows, go record another one, do some shows, and then record another video?
Because it will never happen. Every band I've been in said, we'll just do it that way.
Yeah.
You run out of time. Mm-hmm. Between booking, family, shit breaking, work fucking sucking. It never happens. This is the big thing.
Yeah.
You never see a return on your investment with the videos.
Yeah.
Unless you're hitting millions of views, which, let's be completely honest, we're not expecting that. So don't go into it expecting that, because if it happens, all right, that's a fucking awesome thing. Mm-hmm. Here's a couple extra $100 or even $1,000. That's great. But realistically, the money you put into that video, it ain't going to be a return quick or a return at all. So you basically look at, you're just going to eat it. But what's the one thing all you motherfuckers do when you hop on YouTube? You watch bands that you like videos.
Yeah.
How many times when somebody drops a new video, do you go on there and watch it? But this is the kicker. When you go and watch one of their videos, do you just, okay, I'm done, and shut your laptop off? No, you watch 3 or 4 more. You know what I mean?
So I just looked, on how much money you make on YouTube. Mm-hmm. Just say you put
numbers.
You put your music video on YouTube. You're roughly going to make $3 for every 1,000 views. So let's do the math. What's the math? $1,500, that you spent on that video. Mm-hmm. $3. How many times is, so that's what, 500? You need about 500,000 views, ballpark, to get that $1,500 back.
500,000.
500,000 views on YouTube. That's on the very liberal.
That's a
end.
Tall number for views.
That's the high number, because what I'm looking at right now, YouTube on average pays $1.50 to $3 per 1,000 views. So we're best case scenario,
right?
$3 per 1,000 videos. So you're looking at between 500,000 and $750,000 or $750,000 views to recoup that cost.
And let's be honest, most bands in our realm do not ever hit those numbers. I mean, even Born of Osiris, right?
Yeah.
They just came out with a new album, which is fantastic, by the way.
Yeah.
The first video, it was Angels and Aliens or something like that.
So what did I say? How many views you'd have to get?
500 to $750,000.
Okay, so let's take this into consideration. Ave Under Fire. Mm-hmm. We talk about these guys a lot on the show because they're friends of ours. We know them very well, and
we have data.
They're pretty much blowing up. So their video for The Strong, 390,000 views. They haven't made $1,500 on that video yet.
Probably not.
Heroin right now only has 22,000 views. So even a band like that. So you got to be a notch above that.
Yep.
To have a chance at kind of recouping that $1,500 thing.
Let's also reiterate that in Ava's instance, they put a lot more of their promotion into the Facebook side of it than YouTube.
Well, and they spent a lot more on their video than $1,500.
Yeah. So this is a very complex scenario. So some of the things that we're talking about are very subjective, but this is kind of a Cliff Notes kind of following between the lines a little bit. Yeah. It's
a guide.
But it's not the letter of the fucking law. So a lot of this can be interpreted in different ways. There's shortcuts with different things. You obviously don't want to take a lot of shortcuts, but if you know a guy, right?
Yeah.
Everyone knows a guy.
Yeah.
They could do a video for free because he's going into video production in college and needs to use it for his final fucking project. Hey, fuck it. Why not?
Or we said with the, the van and the trailer, if you have that shit already lined up, you can scratch that cost.
Exactly.
If you're buddies with the guy at the recording studio and he'll cut you a fucking deal, you're kind of cutting that, there's
and
ways
this is where
around
networking plays a huge part.
Yeah. I've seen phenomenal music videos, like New Day's music video for the one they did right after I quit. they got for $300 and it looks fucking bomb. It's a great video, horrible song, but great video, you know. And so and Johnny from Oscar Goldman Overdrive chimed in. You know, they did their record by themselves, and we've played their stuff. It sounds really good.
Yeah, and so there's always ways around certain shit. So it's the dedication.
They're not paying the $1,500 for recording. If you're that good, where you can do that, and Nolan knows how to do video and all that, and Johnny's really good at the artistic shit.
Johnny's just good at a lot of shit, let's be honest.
You know, if Nick, if you're in a band that, hey, I don't have to pay this money for recording or, you know, this and this because my guy in my band does it.
Right.
Boom, you're saving a bunch of money.
So here's the crux of it all. If you're in a band and you guys are very dedicated and creative, you can curb those costs easily by doing a lot yourself.
Yeah.
But keep in mind, if you don't have previous experience and the right tools, it would be more costly. Like,
just because a guy can do it doesn't mean he should.
Exactly. So, like, say you're like, for us, right? For George, I wanted to renovate my basement, do a studio. Yeah. So it would help with pre-production and, you know, all the other elements, which is fine. That was the choice I wanted to make.
Yeah.
But that also includes me getting a new computer, mics, like this, that. You pay the extra money to go to someone that already has that. That's a professional. You're paying for the convenience.
Right.
So you really need to weigh, okay, maybe your guitar player's like all gung-ho about sound and audio and has all the shit. Like maybe his dad's a guitar aficionado.
Yeah.
You know, like certain instances like that, it might be worth to try it. And then, hey, if it turns out good, it does.
Yeah.
But more often than not, especially when you start getting into a groove where the band's actually doing successful or semi-successful and you're busy, the convenience factors where you're paying for it, whether it's an engineer or producer, the top-of-the-line studio, the mid-range, whatever.
Yeah.
If your band in that part of the business is, okay, we're firing on all cylinders, you got to keep pumping money into the machine. Like that. At the end of the day, that's the name of the game. Your band needs to make money, and you need to keep pumping it into the machine.
Jeff Land says this best. Being in a band is a very expensive hobby.
It is.
You know, he's like, some people spend thousands of dollars on golf clubs, and they just want to go golfing. For a lot of people, it's playing guitar and recording records and going out on the road.
Yep.
You know, are you going to make that money back? No, I'm proof positive you'll never make that fucking money back.
Yeah, I mean, like some people like fucking like me building Legos. I mean, like a couple of my buddies are like, how much did that cost? Oh, you spent $300 on that?
Yeah, that literally has zero return on investment.
I gotta wait like 30 years maybe. but yeah, basically zero return.
So hopefully that's really drawn out for you, Nick. Hopefully that saved some of your questions. Nick in Detroit.
Yeah, it's like 7:45 now, so
I know. So we gotta get into some shit because we have Paul Smith from The Strains calling in about 8:15. Share if you are listening. 8:15. Send them 8:15 to call the number because we're running behind. Kevin Razlog, what's going on with you? You are the Rikki ROXX of the week, stirring up the drama, and you know, both with your band and on the social medias. Take us through your week, Kevin.
Well, we had a show in Kalkaska, which
Casting Shadows with a Z.
Yeah. So it was 3.5 hour drive up all the way up there. It was very funny because, you know, Ricky messages me and he's like, dude, we're playing in a fucking restaurant.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I've been there before.
Okay,
you know?
So let me get into that. So the wife and I in Olivia, you know, we'd always go up to Traverse City for around 4th of July. We didn't this year, but normally we'd go up there and we'd stay in Kalkaska because it was marginally cheaper than staying in Traverse City. Right. It's like a half hour, 45-minute drive to go to Traverse City. And we literally, like Jeff and I were pulling up. I'm like, dude, all this looks so fucking familiar. There's
and
a
you're
hotel.
Like drunk in the haze. You're like, I remember getting hammered at this place.
There's the hotel we stay at. And then we pull up to the Up North grill and bar. I'm like, dude, this is where we always go to eat. You know, this is like a family restaurant. So continue.
So yeah, I mean, like the drive was pretty uneventful. It was coming down like fucking crazy until I hit Flint. And then I hit the spot on 75 where that tanker
the ride up was uneventful?
Well, I mean, like...
Minus our guitar player saying that he's not showing up?
I'm talking my experience.
Yeah.
So the drive itself was uneventful. I can't recall exactly what time it was, but basically, long story short, I see the message of, hey, I don't have a ride now. Unless when you guys can pick me up, I can't do the show. At this point... I was already kind of behind. Like when I was supposed to leave, I had an interview, like a whole bunch of shit.
Yeah.
I messaged Rikki and Jeff. Hey, did you guys see that message? Video call both of them. No fucking response. Yeah. So for like 20 minutes, I'm like, do I just turn around and go home? Like, what the fuck's going on?
Oh, it was like 20 minutes?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, shit.
And like, I was still wrapping up errands while I was like, I see this. And I'm like, I'm already behind. Fuck. Like, I did all this work for nothing.
Yeah.
So then when you guys finally answered, it was so funny. I'm like, yeah, he's not coming. And you guys were like, what? I'm like, check your fucking messages, bro. So anyways, you know, you and Jeff were like, no, man, we're fucking playing. And I'm like, cool, I'm all for it. I just want to know. I didn't want to drive 3 hours and then you guys be like, well, shit, I guess we should turn around and go home. I wouldn't expect that, but dude, you never know.
Dude, it was, you know, I was riding up with Jeff because my car I don't trust my car for that ride. So
this is a thing bands don't do what we did.
Yeah.
Taking multiple vehicles.
If you can avoid it, avoid it. Luckily, this was it was a relatively short drive. So, you know, we're riding up, Jeff and I are like, dude, so fucking stoked playing with Tantric tonight. You know, I think Jeff was saying this is like the 8th time Castings played a show at Tantric.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. And he's like, dude, yeah, it's always super cool. They're great guys, yada, yada, yada. We've interviewed Sebastian Labar on the show, so I'm like, super cool. And unfortunately, you can see it right there on the screen. Rest in peace, Jeff Labar from Cinderella. Sebastian Labar from Tantric's dad passed away this week. He still did the fucking shows, which is super cool. I was thinking.
Well, when you brought that up, I didn't even piece those together. I was like, oh, I'm surprised he's fucking here. You know?
So, you know, we're having a great time. Jeff and I were talking. Be like, dude, this is great. This is the beginning of the ride. We're gonna fucking kill it. And then a tour next week. Dude,
20 minutes in.
Boom. Oh, we were about an hour and a half out at that point. You know, so you know, we looked. You know, finally looked at the thing and Chad was like, not going to make it. Don't have a ride. Well, where the fuck's your ride? This show's been on the books for like since you came into the band, you know? So I'm like, what the fuck? And, you know, at that point we were just like, dude, what the fuck? And Jeff's like, dude, Casting Chaz was a 3-piece before. Yeah, we're not going to have any lead guitar playing. I'll just talk or say something and during the guitar solos and shit.
What was funny was when he said that, it was kind of a little bit of comfort, but at the same time, I've been in bands, like even Harlow, when we had to rock a 3-piece, there was times where I was really fucking nervous. Like, is it going to come across the way it's intended? You know what I mean? Because like when you record, there's layers and the sound is full.
Yeah.
And I've seen plenty of bands that just can't replicate that sound when they're down a member.
Right.
But the fact that he was like, oh, we've done it before, I'm like, all right, fuck it.
All right. So take us to the show. Take us to the show. You're.
So I pull in. Load-in was for us was 6.
Yeah.
I got there at I think 6:02, and I literally see a camper van with a trailer. I'm assuming the touring national Tantric like had literally just pulled in. They were supposed to sound check at 5.
Yeah.
So immediately I'm like, oh, it's already behind.
Yeah.
And I knew I was driving home after the show.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, oh, Lord, this is going to be a long fucking day.
Yeah.
So, you know, we get in, we get our shit in, you know, spirits are actually surprisingly high. I more so just wanted to play. I wanted to almost just get it over with, not in a negative light, but it's when you're nervous and you're like, I just want to get it over with.
Yeah.
Not that it's a bad thing. And like, I thought we sounded really damn good. Not gonna lie.
It was weird because I've never played with Casting Shadows as a 3-piece. I haven't played in
Neither have I.
I haven't played in a 3-piece in 15 years.
Oh, okay.
You know, it's always been, you know, this is the first time I played with a singer that plays guitar in 15 years. I've had frontmen and, you know, a lot of guitar players and shit.
Right.
So I'm like, fuck, no lead guitars. The rhythm's going to die out. I'm like, luckily it's only the lead guitar guy. So you're pretty much just losing guitar solos and shit. And Jeff, God bless his heart, he tried to kind of fill those spots.
You know what's crazy though? So when him and I jammed because no one else could before the last show, we struggled with not having a lead only because we didn't know where the solo like ended.
Yeah.
Like we would kind of be like just when you're jamming and they're doing the rhythm part, it's so repetitive that it's really easy to lose track.
Right.
And dude, I gotta say, we nailed every fucking stop, every transition.
It was
like, unless you knew the music inside and out, which doesn't matter now because I play differently anyways.
Yeah.
You probably would have had no idea.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was happy with
I mean,
it,
the
for sure.
show, you know, itself, I mean, minus Chad not showing up, and that's a whole different situation that we're not going to get to on this show.
At least tonight.
At least tonight. You know, once it's all resolved, I'll talk in full depth about all this shit. But, you know, it was like, it was just one thing on top of the other. Like, Jeff forgot the merch.
Oh, yeah.
So luckily, and we were about an hour and a half out from Port Huron by time he's like, fuck, I forgot the fucking merch.
At least we had the shirts, though.
And luckily, I just got the new order of T-shirts that I was going to bring with me for the show.
Which
so
most people probably would have wanted anyway.
So, and we did really well on them. We sold probably about 10 of them.
Oh, nice.
You know, from people that, not only people that were Casting Shadows fans, because we had a couple of Casting Shadows fans come out, you know, all the way up to Kalakaska, but it was people that were there to see Tantric, and they're like, well, I know the next band's like a cover band, don't really give two shits about that, but and we played first because we were kind of
Dude, there was
last minute.
There was a good amount of people there, so I'm happy.
I was telling Jeff that was probably a blessing in disguise because the band that came after us was a bunch of younger guys.
They were actually good, but all they did was covers.
They were younger guys, so they had their parents and shit out like that. So after they were done, I literally saw probably about 40% of the people leave.
Ooh.
And then there was another band that played right before Tantric, and then a couple more people straggled in to see Tantric. So we played in front of more people than Tantric. You know,
feather in the cap moment.
Yeah, we played in front of more people than Tantric did at that show. You know, not to take anything. You know, there were a lot more people up front for Tantric.
Right,
you know,
yeah,
it was probably about 6 or 7 deep. It was a relatively small stage, but it was about 6 or 7 deep to see Tantric. But the room at large, you know, we were playing in front of more people than Tantric was. And so I'm like, you know, we just had the new T-shirts and shit, $10 a piece. Hit me up if you want one. And, you know, it went really well. Got tons of compliments. And Jeff's like, are they fucking lying about the compliments? I'm like, no, if they didn't like us, they wouldn't say a fucking thing.
Dude, like as soon as we got done, that one dude came up, was like, man, like how many years have you guys been together? You guys kicked ass. I literally looked at him and go, bro, I've only jammed with these guys twice.
Yeah.
He's like, hold the fuck on.
Yeah.
He's like, what? I was like, yeah, I'm just filling in. And he's like, was this all the shit the original drummer wrote? Like, because he was like, well, all the shit you were doing was fucking phenomenal. And I love the compliments. I really appreciate it. It was just really funny. Like, it blew his fucking mind. I was like, yeah, dude, this is our first time ever playing as a 3-piece. He was like, wait, what? Bands that bitch about going on early, though, this is why you don't bitch about going on early.
You never know what the fuck's going to happen.
I've had a number of shows where we got thrown on first when we were promised a better time slot, and I told Lauren and Kelly and like everyone I've been in the bands with, like, even though it sucks, let's wait till after the show. Then you can bitch, punch holes in the walls, whatever.
Yeah.
Because who knows? It could work out good.
It could be a situation like this.
More of the times than not, we got thrown on early, and like even though like the headliner was like a bigger band, then they play for like crickets, and we're like sitting there like counting money and shit. We're like, damn, we did good tonight.
So it was cool, and
pays to be humble.
You know, this upcoming week, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, Casting Shadows will be going out playing Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky. We're playing. I guess this just got thrown out that we're playing a fucking hour set supposedly on Thursday.
So we're down a fucking guitar player. And now we got to add to our set because I've only jammed twice.
And we only have a 35-minute set.
Yeah.
So Jeff's like, I'm going to come up with some acoustic guitar stuff. I'm like, oh God, this is a repeat of Indiana all over again. At least I get a break in the middle of the set.
So we're going to do like, was it Matchbox 20 or Candlebox or?
I don't know. He'll probably whip out some Poison or some Knocking on Heaven's Door or... probably some Three Doors Down, some Everclear. I don't know. Jeff, I mean, you know, back in Jeff's older days, you know, he did, he had the original band. His old band was called Barflies with a Z at the end, of course. And
why am I not surprised? Jesus
and he's
Christ.
like, oh yeah, we'd play, you know, the whole band would know him, but we'd play, do our songs. We'd do 3 sets and have a bunch of covers. So he just knows covers and
for
shit.
days.
So it's very easy.
I'm willing to bet, like, if push came to shove and he was like, hey, we can practice these songs like once, like in the parking lot before we go on, like some covers. Dude, depending on the cover, I'd be down to do it. Covers are fucking easy.
I mean, that's what I was telling him. I'm like, once we have some time off, now that you got the songs -1.
This is a good segue back to the nuts and bolts, by the way.
Yeah.
Having time to fucking do shit.
That's why you want to have your content done early so you don't have to worry about music videos when you should be working on other shit.
Exactly.
So there's a bunch of covers he knows. There's some that I can kind of muster through, but not with enough confidence to play live. So there's gonna be some acoustical experiences with the Jeff Land experience and shit like that. But it'll be cool. It's bike night, and I think we're playing 2 bike nights actually. I think Indiana's a bike night. I think Kentucky's a bike night, and then Ohio I think is promoter's birthday party.
Right.
So it's going to be super cool. We got to get into the Pump It or Dump Band of the Week because we got 15 minutes until we hear from Paul Smith from The Strains. So we're going to get into, oh shit, we didn't do Beer of the Week or anything.
Let's do this real quick. We'll knock out Beer of the Week real fast.
You want to run to the fridge and grab them real quick?
Yeah.
Okay. So this week's Beer of the Week comes from Midland Brewing Company out of Midland, Michigan. It is the Fabian Fournier Peanut Butter Porter. It's the 1 4-pack that's still in the fridge. This is a 5.0 ABV, 25 IBU American porter. Quick description on this one. Fabian's, in quotes, Saginaw Joe Fournier was said to be one of the fiercest and meanest lumberjacks in the Saginaw Valley lumber industry until his untimely murder in 1875.
Dude, these are like piss warm, bro.
Are they? Nikki went and got them like 2 hours ago.
Which glass are we using? Is there a
it's a
preference?
porter, so probably this one.
The pint glass?
Yeah.
Look at us being all fucking professional and shit.
Brewed in his memory, this oatmeal porter imparts rich chocolate, coffee, and peanut butter flavors and notes. Untappd.com gave this a 7.2 out of 10. Nikki Rocks picked this up for $9.99 for 4 16-ounce cans from B&B Beer and Wine in Chesterfield, Michigan. If you want to be like Jeff Land on a Saturday morning when he had to drive us home, or drive me home, and pull up on the side of the road 5 times on the way back from Kalkaska to Poho, head on over to B&B Beer and Wine. You'll be feeling like shit your whole ride home the next day. But if you want to play it safe like Kevin Razlog, you can get your beers there too. Just make sure to drink responsibly. Kevin Razlog, what are your thoughts on this one?
So the peanut butter beers, I've had a couple over the years. I remember when Steph and I were in PA, we went to the beer distributor there, and it was like the can literally had like peanut shell like graphics all over it. And I was like, oh, I like peanut butter. This should be good. So I cracked it open. The first few sips were like pretty good. Everyone else there at Steph's family's house wanted to try it too. They were like, oh, this is fucking disgusting. I got like halfway through it. Yes, it was really disgusting. Like the flavor, the peanut butter shit like kind of wore off real quick. And then it was no good. This actually
probably tastes better if it was cold.
Yeah, this actually tastes pretty damn good, but I'm hesitant because, like I said, with the other one, it just didn't seem to age very well, like as I was drinking it. However, this has like a kind of like a coffee chocolatey to it too. So like the peanut butter is kind of quick, like right at the beginning on the tip of your tongue, and then it's kind of like more mocha flavored. So I don't know, maybe if it was how they brewed it, whatever. So far, it's not bad.
So far, I'm just getting fucking foam.
Yeah, me too. It's smooth. It's pretty damn smooth. I like the general like taste of it though.
I like how they, with this one, either you'll get a lot of the kind of like cooking chocolate kind of taste, or you'll get an overwhelming coffee taste out of it.
This is like kind of in between.
It's balanced.
Yes. Okay. See, you always come up with the right
balanced.
words that I'm trying to get
it's
out.
balanced. Usually when they say chocolate and coffee mix, you'll be like, well, this one tastes a lot more like chocolate. This one tastes a lot more like coffee. This one is a nice balance where you're getting both the chocolate and the coffee, and you do kind of get that kind of creamy kind of taste, which I'm assuming is kind of like the peanut butter kind of taste, that kind of like smooth peanut buttery kind of thing. So all the three of those elements.
This goes down really smooth like that nitro beer did, though.
Yeah,
which I do like.
It's surprising with all the fucking head on this thing. It's like a fucking float,
right?
But the balance in the chocolate and the coffee and the peanut butter flavors anyway. It's a nice balance. You're not getting, they call it peanut butter porter, but that's almost kind of like I don't know if it's the right word, but the tertiary flavor, like the third flavor.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of like in the back.
That term tertiary.
Tertiary.
Damn.
You can
bust out the thesaurus before the show.
Because I jammed with a band when it's called Tertiary Colors. Very rushy, but it's there, but it's kind of in the back of the palate. Your right up front flavors are that rich chocolatey, like I say with a lot of beers that have chocolate, it doesn't taste like Toll House chocolate. It's like the kind of more sharp chocolate, and the coffee taste. Those two are really well balanced. So those two
That's probably the biggest selling point on this is the balance.
Yeah,
because a lot of beers that we've tested over the last 109 episodes that we've done.
Yeah.
There's been quite a few where if they were just balanced better, they would probably have been significantly better scored. But yeah, that's the trials and tribulations of brewing crazy ass beers.
In the porter, having it be a porter, you run into wide varieties of IBUs. Like with stouts, whenever we have stouts, we know that 9 times out of 10, you're getting the higher ABVs and stuff like that. Porters, you're kind of in that, 5 to 9% range. Ales, you can start dipping down into the 2s and shit like that. But, and porters are kind of hard for me sometimes because whenever I have a porter, I kind of wish it was a stout. This one is actually, at that point where I'm kind of happy it's a porter and not a stout and not thick. It's smooth. It's still kind of light. You're not chewing this one.
Right.
And the balance between the chocolate and the coffee is, I've never had a beer that had the chocolate and the coffee blended like this, and where you can taste both those elements, and the peanut butter kind of just sneaks up on you from behind. So scale of
sneaks up on you from behind,
like Jeff Land when I was in the hotel room with him on Friday night. So what are you thinking on this one? Scale 1 to 10.
I'm just going to go a solid 8. It's good, but like I said, due to previous experiences, I'm going to hold off until I'm fully done. If I finish this whole beer and I'm like, oh yeah, I'd probably bump it up to an 8.5.
Oh shit.
It is pretty good. I wish I had it colder, obviously. Yeah. But no, it's actually pretty damn good. Good choice.
Thank you, Rikki ROXX, for picking this one up because I'm a lazy fuck. I'm going to give this a 7.75. Not quite an 8 for me, but I feel 7.75 kind of throws it in that C range. So I'd give this like a C+. It's almost above average.
It's passable.
I enjoy it. It's something that, if it was cold.
But we also can't give every beer that's good like a really high score because then it kind of defeats the purpose. Like we have to be nitpicky because if we said every beer was good, you guys are just gonna be like, wow, you guys are just fucking alcoholics.
So with that, what could they do to make this better?
Well, I'm torn because A, I wish it was a little bit colder, and B, like I said, I would like to just finish the whole thing first. With that being said, I would reserve my judgment until I finish it.
See what I would throw on this one.
But you're the beer connoisseur, not me.
The only thing that I'm kind of missing on this, I wish it kind of would have had, was maybe a little bit more bite. Maybe bump that IBU up a little bit, bump that to about 50. Get a little bit more hops in here to where it kind of maybe shocks the palate a little bit more.
That's fair.
If you gave me a little bit more bitterness, a little bit more hops, I could easily see going to an 8.5, 8.75 on this one. Just a little bit more bite. It's very smooth. But I wish it
just had a little bit more.
I wish it could balance the smoothness and just a little bit of bite on it.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
I can go to an 8.5 on this if they just up the IBUs on this a little bit more. So there it is. We haven't gone to the chat yet at all today because we were talk. We didn't even get to talk about hot shits or anything today.
We can after the interview.
We'll do that later. Shout out to Chris Tucker. Sherry Claire is hanging out. I've been actually hitting.
We're doing Band of the Week, right?
We're going to do that right after I shout out everybody.
I got to use El Baño.
Jahing Music Lover, back from the Philippines. He's back. Johnny Gazoon girth and bigness is important with the sunglasses. Boom, boom, boom. Hashtag OGO. They have their CD release coming up if you're in the Metro Detroit area over at Diesel. He also says, hey fellas, I'm sure glad OGO hit our 600 mark. I don't know what the fuck a 600 mark is, but hopefully it's a good thing. He also says, I'm on board with Kevin's advice tonight. Spot on, pays to be humble. Steve Engel, chocolate and beer. Really, I like beer, but this sounds gross. It's actually pretty good, dude. It's, I'm not a huge fan of the chocolate thing and the coffee thing, but this is actually pretty smooth. I mean, like I said, would rather have some more bite in it, but it is what it is. Raz is there. Paul Smith is PBR is the only real beer, or High Life. We'll talk about this when you call into the show, because now I have a bone to pick with you. Well, I guess we're millennials, so we're into bougie things. Black Horse Ale from Newfoundland, best on the planet. Haven't had that yet. So we're getting to our Pump It or Dump Band of the Week. This is a band out of Orange County, California. If you don't know what the Pump It or Dump Band of the Week is, it's a segment we do on the show where we try to introduce you guys, the Rocks 100 and the Rikki ROXX Show listeners, to a new band that you probably would not have heard of otherwise, and get you introduced to some awesome independent music. So this week we have a band from Orange County, California. They're called Them Evils. If you're a fan of the Pretty Reckless, pop evil, classic rock, radio rock, and modern rock, you might be into this one. They have a single out there called Got Me Rockin'. It's off their latest album, 2018. 2018's Rollin' Stone and Livin' Free. It's available on Spotify. Check it out. Facebook.com/themevils or www.themevils.com. Info on these guys. Their previous EP, Rollin' Stone and Livin' Free, was enthusiastically received. Placements on key rock playlists at all major streaming services, and the band supported that release with more than 100 live shows in 2018 that included a national headlining club tour with stops at Shiprocked, Welcome to Rockville, Carolina Rebellion, and main stage at Rock on the Range. 2019 saw the band supporting Pop Evil of Mice and Men, The Black Moods, and He Is Legend, as well as festival appearances at Exit 111 and Rock USA. Positive press looks were posted at Kerrang, Loudwire, Axis, Rock Revolt, Alternative Addiction, and others that added to the band's critical acclaim. So we're going to check that out. Last week we had Found Missing out of Essex, England. Their song Now I'm Awake received 6 votes. So not a lot. So that's not cool. So we're going to listen to that, and then we're going to come back. We're going to talk to Paul Smith from the Strains of Detroit, Michigan. They got a show coming up at The Loving Touch where we get into all that and more right after this, episode number 110 of the Rikki ROXX Show, right here on Rocks100.com.
Happy birthday to you.
Dude, this party sucks. How much are we making? $60. Total? Each? Total. I hate you guys.
Dude.
Got an idea.
I look a wild little devil with a smile, got me blowing off on my sleeve.
coming to a stop. She's the meanest girl I ever seen. Kicking pedals to the floor, getting ready for the score. Licking lips, yeah, she's such a tease. Spitting like a demon, she's a killer guy you're dreaming. Now her daddy's out looking for me. Rolling down the highway, honey. What you
And we are back. I got it. Oh, gotta cut this out too. All right, so that was what we had. We had our Pump It or Dump It band of the week, which was Them Evils of Orange County, California, and their song Got Me Rockin'. And we followed that up with The Strains. We're talking to Paul Smith, the lead singer and guitar player of that band, and their song Where You Stay At. Kevin, what are you thinking so far of these awesome rock bands?
You know what's funny? Because, like, generally, even, like, music that isn't really in my wheelhouse of stuff I like listening to, as soon as I find myself tapping my foot, I'm like, okay, like that's automatically a good sign to me.
Yeah.
And like both songs were really fucking good.
Yeah.
Like I would totally not be ashamed to be in a band like that because me being a metal guy, like, you know, I mean, like I did country and I've done all this different shit. There's just that certain level of when you hear a band and it's catchy and you're tapping your foot, it's just well done. And I appreciate the living shit out of any band, regardless of genre, if they write a really good, catchy tune like that.
Yeah.
So kudos to them. Both songs were really well done.
Wow.
I found myself tapping my foot. So.
We're getting a metalhead Kevin Razlog into some rock and roll these days.
Dude, I'm not like a metal elitist or anything like that. But like I said, you know, right before we came back on air, I was like, damn, dude, this is like got like some sort of vibe, you know? And you were like classic rock. And then I thought about it. I'm like, man, most of the classic rock that I've listened to over the years is the classic rock from yesteryear. Yeah. So it's kind of nice to hear a new band with their take on it, and I fucking totally dig it.
Yeah, we were talking about the Strains during the break, and it was like, you know, I was like, man, these guys, you know, you're like, man, these guys it's catchy shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, it sounds almost classic rock.
Yeah.
You know, like a new take on classic rock.
But it's not like a direct ripoff either.
Right.
It's their own thing. And that almost leads more credence to like why I'm like, wow, this is actually really good because it brings back that vibe of like when I was in middle school and high school listening to, you know, whatever in that realm. But now it's 2021 and this is totally new. But it still kind of invokes that feeling that I had back then about that music. So it's almost like hopping in a mini time machine for that 3.5-4 minutes of the song, and it's just really well done. So yeah, man, 2 big thumbs up for me.
And if I got the date right on this one, you can catch us Strains. We're going to be talking about this one on September 4th at Detroit Punk Rock Festival 3. I believe that's where it is. Sure, you have to start updating your...
And that was the other thing when you said they were punk rock. Like, that didn't really give me punk rock vibes.
Yeah, I didn't really get it either.
But
if that's what punk rock is, sign me up.
They could be a punk rock band that has this one song.
It's that crossover.
But either way, all it takes is that one song.
Yeah.
So, yeah, kudos to them, man.
So super
Good
cool.
stuff.
And just looking at that event page right now, it looks like it's going to be a fucking banger. September 4th, Loving Touch in Ferndale, one of the
Loving Touch. Haven't heard that name in a minute.
classiest venues in Metro Detroit. So it's super cool. We're talking to Paul Smith and our Detroit Anarchy 3. Is that that's the same one. There it is. September 4th, Detroit Anarchy Punk Rock Festival 3.
Paul said ready to call.
Call.
They're ready for me to call. Yeah, call
Let's
us.
do it. Let's do it.
We are ready.
Yes, let's do it. Call in. We're ready we're ready for you now. And while we're waiting for him to call, if you are checking this out now, share this on your social media. If you're listening to this tomorrow or later this week on YouTube.
Look at that.
There it is. Paul, what's going on, brother?
Oh, not much. I'm just sitting here just north of Hamtramck having a nice cold PBR.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, he was the one that commented about PBR and High Life.
Yeah.
Well, you know, beer isn't supposed to taste like, you know, you're peeling off the bark of a tree and licking the sap. Beer is supposed to taste like the sweat of our forefathers coming out of the factory. It's supposed to be unpleasant, bland, horrifying.
Is that how
this
beer's
is how I get the
supposed to
punk
be?
rock vibe now.
Now I get the punk rock thing because I'm like, wow, this tastes like something I want to drink. Let me drink swill water from the urinals at Smalls. You know, let me drink that. You know, wow. So you want to punish yourself with your beer.
Well, yeah, and you know, like I wanted to comment on, like I was listening to the whole show.
Yeah.
And I heard you run the it takes to get a record made and all that, and it's like it's sort of a different landscape now than it was like I'm a little bit older. I'm in my mid 50s, right? So I've been doing this a long time. And back in the day, you know, we didn't have like the avenues we have now. It's like you actually had to get out there, get your boots on the ground, and play every dive there was everywhere to get any sort of traction, you know. And honestly, I'm taking the same approach with this band, you know, but the only difference being that I don't have the same boundless energy that I had when I was 21. So it's interesting, to say the least. But I have the convenience of being able to produce my own shit.
Well, I'm actually glad you brought that up, because when I first joined any like actual serious band, that was my impression too, was, hey, like, let's play as much as we can. And slowly but surely, you know, I started seeing all the differences and the trials and tribulations of doing that, not just from overplaying, but like from a business side of it, not being able to put together videos and merch and, you know, all those things. So since you've been around for as long as you have, with technology being the way that it is, because you've been around long enough, you were doing it before, you know, all the social media and stuff. Do you think nowadays that enhancement in technology makes people lazier, and then they hope that something should be given to them just because they cut a single or whatever? Or do you think it's just leveled the playing field so much that it requires almost more work to do?
I don't think it leveled the playing field in any way. What I think it did is it oversaturated somewhat, and it cut people's attention spans. You know, coming from the world of punk rock, you know, which was what I cut my teeth on, I appreciate the DIY ethos. You know what I mean? It's very important that everybody can get their chance to get their stuff out there, but when you have oversaturation and people just seem to be just somewhat disinterested, because there's like, it's the same thing with, like, I can compare it to the beers. It's like if I go into the store and there's like 600 different kinds of IPAs and I don't know which one I want to pick, I'm just going to grab a PBR because I already know it tastes like shit. You know what I mean? So if you take the same sort of mentality to music, you know, it could be, it's a good thing and a bad thing, I would say. But, you know, straddling the lines of both generations, I mean, like when I started out playing music, I had to send out demo tapes that were recorded on analog gear. We couldn't like trigger drums. We couldn't, you know, do multiple guitar layers because we only had an 8-track Tascam reel-to-reel. You know, it was like one and done. And like that recording I played for you, or the recording you played for my band just now,
yeah,
that Where You Stay At, that was done on 8 tracks.
Really?
Wow.
Yes.
Nice.
But it was 8-track digital, but I was like, when I started the Strains, I was like, look, I want to take this back to how it was. Because, you know, I've got the capability to do multiple layers, but I was like, if we can't deliver live what we are putting on the recording, then we're going to go out and people are going to be, you know, sort of disappointed. Because I could put 10 guitar tracks on there, multiple layered vocals. It's just one vocal, you know, 2 guitars. I did the Glenn Johns technique on the drums. So 3, I can't remember if I did 3 or 4 mics on the drums, but it was very minimal.
I'm really glad that you brought that up, because even when we were writing this stuff and recording for Harlow, like Lauren wanted to do quite some layering for the vocals, and it was more for like the ambiance and stuff. And we were all like, hey, you know, we got to make sure when we play this live, because we don't have like a keyboard player, synth, backing tracks, like any of that stuff. So the vocals, it was one of those things where we knew Lauren could do as much as she needed to live, but for the recording it made sense. But there was times when, you know, we were doing the bass, the guitar, and the drums, that there were certain parts that we were like, should we add a little bit more to just kind of put it over the top? But then we sat back and we're like, well, we got to make sure we can do it live. And I feel like a lot of bands nowadays don't take that into account. And I think the metalcore genre is really guilty of that the most, more than any, because they love using all the backing tracks and shit like that. But I think that's something that a lot of people can't wrap their heads around, whether they're fans or musicians themselves. Like, fans love the shit. It makes a show really good. But if you can't replicate it live, yeah, it's not a good thing.
Yeah, and then there's the other side of the coin. Like, I've, being in the business as long as I have, and I've done, backlining gigs, I've done tour management, and I've been out with some bigger bands, and, the drummer's got a Pro Tools rig behind him.
Yeah.
And he's feeding 8 tracks of backing tracks. And if you come across a club somewhere or a technical difficulty, your day is going to be wrecked.
Yep.
As a performer, and it's like, it would be like these major bum outs, like, oh God, the sends aren't working, oh fuck, and oh, what are we gonna do? It's like, just play your fucking rock and roll, man, and don't worry about the backing tracks, or maybe you should have thought of that first,
right?
Well, before you brought that kind of technology with you, and the audience doesn't know it, they don't see it,
right?
But it's essentially like playback, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Which is, to me, it's like, that's like Milli Vanilli territory almost.
So I get where you're coming from 100%. I will throw a little other tidbit into the mix because I kind of want to get your take on it. So I manage this band in Ghosts. Awesome band. They're all extremely talented. They were running into a lot of issues with like dedication with members. So they also had like the electronica EDM little parts to it too, which personally they did it very tastefully. Now, when they were booking shows, they were like, hey, bro, when you're booking our tour dates, you got to make sure like some of these venues are capable of, with the sound to do X, Y, and Z. And me not doing any of that in any bands I've been a part of, it was kind of new to me. They got to a point, though, where they actually had to cut their basis out entirely due to a lot of those reasons, so they just threw it on a backing track. Now, I get a lot of what you're saying, but in a pinch, right? Let's say like you were about to leave for tour and like one member of your band just couldn't do it, but you could have that backing track, right? In those instances, I don't necessarily see it as the Milli Vanilli. I get where you're coming from 100%, but for them being a low-level band, the tour was like 15 days all the way from Indiana to Cali and back. It was a good opportunity. In those instances, I can get where like it's justifiable, I guess. But at the same time, you don't want to put yourself in those positions because for me, right, I'm a drummer. I don't have to plug any of my fucking shit in.
The Strains are punk rock, bro. If they can't find a bass player to play that stuff, let's be completely honest. I mean, there's, you guys play a brand of music that, I grew up on punk rock, and I'm a horrible bass player. Listening to it, I'm like, this is stuff that would be relatively easy to pick up. So, a punk band or a rock band like the Strains, is it easy for you to find guys to play your music, or do you kind of run into the
bullshit we do,
the bullshit the rest of us have to deal with?
No, I've been very lucky, and part of my luck was just giving up, because I was on the hamster wheel of tour, record, record. Mm-hmm. Oh God, we got to write one. Where's the money going to come from? Mm-hmm. Here, I'll sell this guitar. We'll put this record out. And I was, at some point I just burned out.
Yeah.
After 20 plus years of doing that,
been there.
I was like, I quit. I'm done. And it's just sort of like the Strains kind of happened organically. Like a friend of mine calls and says, hey, I saw some videos of your old band, some live videos. You want to just start something new? I was like, I guess, I think I do. And these guys were two Chrysler employees, older dudes, and it clicked, and I went back to the same DIY ethos that I had in my old band in Europe, where I lived for 20 years, playing every squat house available. And, but like in the meantime, shit changed. Like the original bass player took his leave. He just didn't want to do it. and I ended up with two really good local guys who have a lot of experience in the rock and roll business. They were in a band with like the bass player played with Rob Tyner's band from the MC5.
Oh, okay.
And the guitar player was in Dark Carnival with Ron Ashton from the Stooges. And it's sort of like a kind of an ironic thing that I had to live in Detroit for 8 years before I ran into these guys, because like I had played with a lot of these classic proto-punk guys in the late 80s in the first band I was in when I was like 19 years old.
Yeah.
And I thought that they were ancient, you know what I mean? But they were only 20 years older than me. But, with the older you get, the more you realize that, age is just a number. And the guys that are in there now, it's Greasy Carlisi. Everyone in town knows him. He's a maniac. And he can play anything. You give him an accordion, I bet you'll run up and down the street ripping ass on it, And he's playing lead guitar, and the bass player is Pete Bankert, who was in a band called The Weapons. And Muggsy, they were like a hard rock band from Detroit in the 70s. Yeah. So these guys, they're pocket players, you know what I mean? And for rock and they were playing in early proto punk bands as well. So it's like they get it. There's like no illusions for these guys. They pick up an instrument and know exactly where the sweet spot is tonally, and like where, because punk rock needs to groove still,
It's not about all the technicality and flash and how many notes you can play in 4 bars. It's, as a bass player myself who grew up on punk rock, granted it was like New York Dolls and shit like that, but punk rock in that era, it's like you don't need flash. I don't as a bass player and as a guitar player when I was younger, it wasn't about how many notes you could
Isn't it more about the message?
It was about more the lyrics and having a damn groove that either you could dance to or thrash to or just to get people moving. That was the whole goal. Right. When I was in punk rock bands. If people are standing still at a punk rock show, you're not doing your job right. Your songs are bullshit if nobody's moving. That was the whole thing. We just got to come up with shit to get people moving. Right. So and you explained it perfectly. That's like, dude, all you gotta do is be in the damn pocket and have a nice groove going on, and you'll get people moving, and those people will love you to the day they die. So one question I had, and you brought it up, that you were over in Europe for 20 years. What inspired that move over? How did you end up in Europe?
Well, I was at that time. This would have been like the early 90s, and I was working at a porno shop that sells like porno mags.
Hold on.
And I was like, my life is going nowhere. I'm just sitting around like existing. And I got a phone call from this band that I was in that was based out of New York City and Minneapolis. And they're like, hey, we're doing a tour. We need a guitar player. I'm like, sign me up. And so it ends up I go over there, and it's like not really a tour per se. It's more like weekend gigs, and I was just kind of left to fend for myself. And I was probably like 26, I think, and I didn't speak German. I was like set up in Germany. I was staying with our roadie, and I was driving him crazy because like I was basically a helpless infant that was thrust upon him. And just one thing led to another, and I started a band there with the other roadies, and it just kind of grew into its own thing. We put out a bunch of records and toured our asses off. And
so hold on real quick. I got to interrupt you. So you go to a very foreign place to you, and you literally started a new band while you were in said place.
Yeah.
Dude, that's fucking wild.
Well, when you got nothing to lose, you'll try anything.
Very true.
Our initial reason for starting the band was so we could buy a Mercedes 208 diesel van so we could tour with the other band.
Okay.
Because the band didn't even have a van. We were going to shows and keep in mind that all the guys in this band were over 6 feet tall, and we were in a Ford Escort.
Oh, Jesus.
With all our instruments crammed into it, and like driving from let's say Amsterdam to Luzerne, Switzerland, with drugs on us and all kinds of stupid shit. And it was insanity. And I'm like, dude, we need a van. So we started the band so we could earn a couple bucks playing some festivals and buy a van. Eventually we got a van, and we didn't have to, tour with our knees in each other's back. But in hindsight, the things I did back then were so stupid. I had a gram of speed on me, and I was in a panic. We're driving into Bavaria. I'm like, where am I going to hide this? Where am I going to hide this? And I hide it in my passport. It's like, you fucking idiot.
Let me see your passport. Oh, that's not speed. Hold on.
That's sugar. Don't worry about it.
And I got busted with it because I was, the guys yelled at me for hiding my passport. It's like, that's the worst idea ever. I'm like, you're right. So I put it in my leather jacket pocket, and we're getting out at some truck stop in Bavaria on the way to Munich so I could take a squirt. And they have plainclothes cops all over in Europe, and they'll come up on you out of nowhere. And I see these guys are going for the bass player who really looks like he has drugs on him, But I was holding. And so I see them going for him. I was like, oh, fuck yeah, I'm getting rid of this. I had that little pouch, and I went, beep, and flipped it out of my pocket. And the next thing you know, the undercover cop comes behind me with the package and goes, Sie haben etwas vergessen, which means you dropped something. And I was out.
Oh, damn.
See, what you should have done was you should have had a suit with glasses and a tie. And then anytime you're holding, just be like, hey, I'm just the manager. No one's going to question the guy in a suit and a tie.
That's true. But at that time, I had green hair or something. I looked like a moron. I still look like a moron. I don't have green hair anymore. But the point is, I don't do that tomfoolery anymore. I don't have the time for that shit. But my advice to anyone traveling, don't hide your speed in your passport.
But Rikki was...
wow, what the hell did I walk into?
So Rikki, you missed out on the best part. He said they were touring through Europe, and I think you said multiple members were bigger than 6'5", right?
Yeah.
In a Ford Escort.
Oh.
So you guys basically showed up to the venue looking like a fucking clown car,
it's like a
right?
clown car.
You have 4 or 5 dudes hop out, and then it's like, how much more gear is in there?
You'd be amazed at how much you could fit behind your back in the seat. You could get a couple guitars in there. It makes for an uncomfortable ride, but
wow.
The bass player, he's actually 6'5". I'm 6'2". I might have shrank a little bit because I'm getting older, bones compact and whatnot. And but that guy was a monster, and he still is. His name's Tony Slug. I wish he was listening. He might be. He lives in Amsterdam. He's a great punk rock archivist, and he's been around since the early days. And he still makes music. I got a project brewing with him, and it's probably going to be Cheetah from the Dead Boys.
Ooh.
And Cheetah Chrome from the Dead Boys.
Yeah.
The Dead Boys.
Yeah, I know who the Dead Boys are.
And I can't really say. How many people are watching this?
Right now, not as many as that are going to listen tomorrow and this week. So,
okay. Well, because I can't talk about stuff that hasn't been realized yet, But I did get some tracks sent over from Tony to start working on, and it's going to be a couple heavy hitters from the Swedish and Norwegian rock and roll revival scene. The action rock kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
So,
and I'll be singing and taking some production.
So another thing I have to ask you about, Sherry Claire, who got me my start in booking many, many, many years ago in concert promotion. She was telling me that, what you were up to during this COVID shutdown. and recording bands and all this. Can you take us through some of what you're doing, during this COVID, the COVID, the lockdown and all that?
Oh, it was a blast. I mean, I was having a good old time.
You're like the only dude on the planet that said that.
It was essentially, we kind of coined it the COVID jams.
Mm-hmm.
And what it was like, we'd pick a song, I'd pick a song, or someone would pick a song, and people would just show up randomly, every time a different person, and we had to nail it, like, immediately.
Yeah.
Live. And,
so what kind of songs are you doing? Are you doing like, Raw Power by Iggy, or are you doing like obscure punk rock? What kind of songs are you guys picking out to do?
We did a bunch of obscure stuff, and we did do an Iggy song, but it was more of a deep cut.
Mm-hmm.
It was I think we did I Got Nothing from the Kill City sessions, which was that one was really hard to do. Nick Morocco, who's in the Twisted Tarantulas, played drums on that, and I outsourced some stuff. Like a friend played, because it had Hammond and piano, and I had a guy come over and do that. We couldn't do that live. And a guy from the River City, it's a band from Pittsburgh, I think, or New Jersey, the River City Rebels. He played lead guitar on it, and we just did that remotely. And we did like Black Flag, the X-Ray Sex, Pure Ubu, if you've heard of them, from Cleveland, a deep cut. Well, it's not really a deep cut from them.
That whole band's a deep cut. Yeah, I've heard of them. But it's like these are you're rattling off some bands here that when I was a kid, it was like you'd have to find the biggest punk rock, like you were saying, archivists, that are just live and die that stuff to even have heard of a lot of these bands.
Yeah. And what I was doing with the COVID jams was just, obviously like a lot of my friends that I play with or, would gig with, they're like, no one's gigging. What are we going to do? Everyone's got like all this energy pent up, and we found something cool to do, And I recorded a bunch of albums for other bands during that period as well. I don't know if I could say the word pussy maggot on
Go
air,
for it.
Yes,
You're fine.
I recorded 2 albums for them. I did UBI, which is a hardcore band. I did a band called Bullet Wound. That's also like more like a kind of a D-beat band, like kind of like Discharge vein.
Mm-hmm.
What else did I do? Can't even remember. It was Whirlwind, and there was just so many people coming and going. And there was, some of my, like the drummer of the Strains came over once in that year and a half because we couldn't gig, and his wife basically forbade him from hanging around with anyone because of the Rona. But we got him over, and we recorded the Strains' whole set live. And I'm sitting on that, and I'm like, but we're going back to the beginning of your show here when you're talking about like releasing stuff. I've got enough material to release 3 albums minimum right now.
Nice.
And I can't be. I don't want to say I can't be bothered, but it's almost like I put the stuff. I share it with my friends, and I'm like, okay, that's enough, and we go play our gigs, and just get our boots on the ground. And another shitty thing about this is, like, right before COVID hit, we were going to play our first Midwest run. We were going to play Chicago, Cleveland, and I think New York.
Mm-hmm.
There were 3 shows booked with my friends from Texas called the Guillotines, and we had to cancel all the shows. I was like, well, okay, let's see how long it takes for those to get booked again. And,
right. So,
because until now, we've only played in Detroit with this band.
So that kind of led into the question. I kind of wanted to, steer this more toward the Strains and how you put this band together, and, with your whole, career, 20 some odd years of playing punk rock and being a part of that, and all these, world famous musicians you played with. Take us through putting the Strains together and, kind of where you guys are going with that project.
Well, it like I said, it was almost like an idea from someone else. Like, hey, you can write songs. Come and play with me. I got a drummer. And as I realized I had so much shit pent up in me from not really performing for I retired, like, I think my last tour was 2013 with my old German band, and I was like, all right, I guess we're done, and 2016 rolled around. It was like 3 years of pent up frustrations. I didn't know I had that many songs in me, but I fucking did. And like we had a strict regimen with that band. It's like we show up, we have to write at least one song, and it would be no problem because Andy Pikatowski, the drummer, is really intuitive. So I would just come up with a riff, and he would just start bashing the drums. It would work. I'd be like, hey, Andy, start a beat. And he'd just start some random beat, and I'd come up with a riff. And what happened, there was like a turning point for this whole thing, because it was like we played a couple gigs and stuff, and it wasn't awful as a three-piece. It worked well, but we had the opportunity to play Ron Ashton from the Stooges had like a birthday benefit, and this guy I know who's got a studio in Belleville, that's Pete Bankert, who's now our bass player. He's like, look, Kathy Ashton, who's Ron Ashton's sister, wants me to put a band together to play for Ron Ashton's birthday at the Blind Pig. And like we would be opening up for this super group that was like Kim Gordon from Sonic Youth, Mark Arms from Mudhoney, the drummer from Rocket from the Crypt, and Jay Mascis from Dinosaur Jr., and Mike Watt, who everyone knows who Mike Watt is, plays bass for the Stooges, was in the Minutemen.
Yeah.
And they had a string of guest singers, and they were going to perform the Stooges' first two albums. They didn't need an opener. So what we did but Pete had to play bass. So our bass player stepped out. Me and the drummer joined up with him, and he brought in Greasy Carlisi, and we decided we're going to do like 10 Detroit deep cuts. And we found them because we didn't want to do because we couldn't do any Stooges songs because they were all being done by the Superstar group. So all right, we can't do a Stooges song, but we can do a couple MC5 songs, and we didn't want to do Kick Out the Jams or some shit like that. We did like Shakin' Street, and then we did some Sonic Rendezvous band covers. That's like the band from Scott Morgan, who's also still active, and Fred Smith from the MC5. We did an Alice Cooper song. We did the Ballad of Dwight Fry. I can't remember what else. We did Dark Carnival song, which was one of Ron Ashton's bands after the Stooges dissolved. And it clicked with us four guys, me, Pete, Greasy, and Andy. And it's like, okay, this really works. What's that? Yeah, we did a couple of Strains originals on that because we didn't have enough time to learn enough covers.
Right.
Because I've never played covers before that, and then the COVID jams was the first time I really drove deep into cover songs. Because I always just figured, in the time it takes me to learn this cover song, I could have written 3 of my own.
Did doing the covers actually kind of invigorate you a little bit? I mean, I went from doing metal to kind of like country, so we were throwing in some covers of shit that I absolutely did not enjoy doing. But as a drummer, it kind of pushed me to think a little bit outside the box and just play a different style. Did you actually take anything from it, or are you kind of just still in the same boat?
No, I got a lot out of it. It helped me polish up my chops. In some cases, it taught me to be a drummer, because I would be hell bent on doing a song and no one would show up, and I'd be like, fuck it, I'll play the drums. And I had no idea how to, but I figured it out real quick. So on these COVID jams, I played drums on a couple songs. I did I Am the Walrus. That's the first time I really played drums. And I don't want to say I nailed it, but I didn't do bad. And
it's just that easy.
You're about to like outsource a ton of fucking drummers right now, dude. So please be careful with what you're saying.
Wow, it's not that hard to play drums.
I just walked in and played it, no problem, willy nilly.
Well, I watched a couple. What I did was a friend of mine made me watch a video of Ringo playing that song "Rain" from the Beatles live. Like I just watched Ringo. I was like, oh. And actually, but he leads with his left, that asshole. Like he plays the right-handed setup, but he leads with his left. It's confusing. So
is that a thing, Kevin?
I was doing it at the show, and I saw a bunch of people's eyes like light up because I was like, sometimes when I play,
I don't know anything about drums.
It's just easier for me to lead with my left because of the fill that I'm doing or have coming up. But it is, trust me, when you're a righty and then you go to lead with your left, it's not easy. But the only reason why I developed that was because I'm a metal guy and I do blast beats. But that turned into me being able to actually play shit I would normally play with my right hand with my left hand.
Wow.
Yeah. It was fun, but I tell you, the one thing I respect the most about drummers is your ability to spend that much money on gear and just to beat the living shit out of it. You know?
It's a love-hate relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, shit. Our last practice, I broke 2 cymbals.
Exhausting.
Yeah, it is exhausting.
I played drums on one of the COVID jams. It's called "Sweet Nothing" from the Sonic Rendezvous band, and it's a 5-minute song. I had to lay down on the floor when I was done, and it's mid-tempo. You know, I was like, and then I started to get a little bit cocky. I was like, oh yeah, I can play. Nervous Breakdown from Black Flag. Wrong. I couldn't. Like I can't play punk rock. I can only play shit that's like mid tempo. The second I got to step it up a notch, I fall apart completely.
So
like my arms felt like limp noodles.
It's funny you bring that up because it is physically demanding. I actually used to wear a pedometer because I was kind of curious, like how much energy am I exerting like during our set. And basically the pedometer kind of mimics like if you were running, like your footsteps and stuff. A 35-minute set was the equivalent of like a 4.5-mile run when I was in Harlow. So,
Jesus Christ, what are you doing to yourself, son?
I love the footwork, man. I just do.
A question that I had, one, what has kept you going for this long? Because you said for a time you quit. And, I've been in that situation. A lot of musicians that, for one reason or another, have been in that situation where you're like, man, fuck this shit. I'm fucking done. I'm just going to go work my 9-to-5 job. And then my weekends, I will have completely free to do whatever the hell I want. What has kept you going for this long to where it's like, let's give this another shot. Let's keep this thing going. Yes, we all love playing music. We all love music. That's the given.
It's a commitment.
But there's people that love music that have no interest in playing an instrument, and they'll just go be a fan. What has kept you playing? What is it about you as a person, you as a musician, that you're like, I can't just be a fan of this music. I have to produce it.
Maybe like a temporary long-term insanity part of it. That's the funny joke about it. But honestly, it's just second nature at this point. If I'm not doing it, I obsess about other things that I shouldn't obsess about, because if anything, playing music is an obsession. And it's like, and I still feel like I got something to say. I might not be able to say it as loud and clear as I used to. I got asthma. I smoke 2 packs a day, but I can still bring it. And I figure as long as I can bring it, I may as well fucking bring it. You know what I mean? It's because I can still do the 9-to-5 and still pull this off. Because I spent 30 years of my life essentially as a pauper, like hand to mouth, and like I can recall at one point I realized when I was on tour the most, when I was playing in 3 bands in Europe, and I was constantly touring. I was like, dude, you've been drunk every day for free for 4 years, every day.
Living the dream.
You're going to die, you know? And it was, you know, so I stopped drinking and I kept touring, and it started to get really irritating, you know, because like I felt like, you know, I'd be in a different city, different language, different country, you know, all the time. And, you know, things seemed to like kind of be repetitive. And as soon as things got repetitive, I was getting bored with it, you know? And so stopping for a while and saying, look, man, you dedicated 30 years of your life to this. Why don't you just try 2 years of working a square job? And, you know, without any skills as a high school dropout.
Yeah.
But, you know, it worked out, you know, because, you know, I dedicated my whole life to this. And in the end, I can't stop. The day I stop is the day I die.
That's
and
pretty.
That sounds about right.
That's pretty wild, though. Like going into a totally different country, not knowing the language. Like for me, I feel like that would stress me the fuck out. Like I know music is music, but I don't know. Like just being in an environment that's like that foreign to me, I don't know if I could do it.
Well, see,
let me relate a story to you that just speaks to the way the human brain works. I was on tour once. This was probably the late 90s, and we were playing some festival in Hungary, of all places. I would like to call it Hungry because we went there and we couldn't even find. And we were playing this festival, and like nobody spoke German, nobody spoke English, nobody even spoke French. I ended up speaking like caveman speak with these weird Hungarian dudes in their tents, and it was the most meaningful conversation I ever had. We were drinking like some crazy homemade booze, and we're communicating in a series of grunts and groans, and we had a complete understanding.
They call that PBR, Paul. They call that PBR. That's what you were drinking. You were drinking PBR.
This was some
toilet PBR.
This was crazy bathtub grog. This was blackout juice, and it was crazy. But we understood each other. At the end of the day, I learned how to say, "Where's the food? Where's the bathroom? And where's the booty?" Which is all you need to know.
So we learned from this that not only does music cross language barriers, so does bathtub grog. You know, so if you can't communicate with people through music, drink the swill out of drink swill alcohol, and you'll be able to communicate with anybody.
Minus some of the questionable decisions, like at the end of the day, the point you're getting across though is actually like really cool and meaningful. That like you went into a situation that 90% of even musicians that would say, "Oh, I will go anywhere, I'll play anywhere," you were able to just be like, dude, even though there was the language barrier, there was this and that, like we hung out and we got to that level of just shooting the shit, having fun. They told me where the food, the bathroom, and the booty was. You know, I mean, that in itself, that's like VH1 behind the music, fucking rock star shit. Yeah. That's fucking sweet, dude.
It was a blast. And there, like, I even got approached by the UN troops in, where was it? Croatia. They're like, we're playing like some barrack, like former army barracks. It was on the borderline of Serbia, on the borderline of Croatia and Bosnia. And the war was just over. And there are still UN troops there, and we're playing, and it's like, I am still friends with a lot of these guys from this town called Kutina down there in Croatia. Because when the war was over and all the dust settled, all these guys wanted to do was to get back to normal. And so we were on tour with another band from Milwaukee called Wanda Chrome and the Leather Pharaohs. And we were like, we had a great time, and we've all made lifelong friends there and in Serbia. And like rock and roll crosses all barriers. Like the UN guys came to me like, "What are you doing here?" We're like, "We're playing music." They're like, "Don't you know it's fucking dangerous?" I'm like,
we don't give a fuck.
For you, maybe we're having Pivo, Carlavaccio Pivo with our friends over here at the barracks, you know, and playing some punk rock.
It's like your enemies booked us, bro.
Yeah.
You know, so
it was insane.
So at this point, you've done so much, played the Eastern European bloc pretty much, pretty much,
do they pay you in uranium?
Right. I mean, let's take this into historical context. He's playing Eastern Europe right after the fall of the Berlin Wall.
Yeah.
So you have, the communists over, Croatia was no damn joke at that point. And
you got a lot of fucked up shit going on in the world.
And you're going into these places that it's like, yo, the KGB could be right on your doorstep, because Croatia, I mean, let's be completely honest, it's pretty much Russia. It's
I think Kosovo was messaged too,
my
right?
friends would debate that.
It's right on the doorstep. You're right on the doorstep of.
It's the equivalent of us being Detroiters, because Detroit's so like from an outside perspective, right? If people go, "Where are you from?" and we say Detroit, they're like, "Oh, the murder mitten." So it's like us for that. It's like, oh, Eastern Bloc, huh? KGB, like fucked up shit,
So at this point, you've done all this, now you have the strains, what's the goal for this one? Is this just, what are your goals? Do you want to take this on the road? Do you want to go back over to Europe? Do you want to do all this again? The stuff that you did 20, 30 years ago, and you said, absolutely, what's the game plan for you guys? You guys are sitting in Detroit. You have the Loving Touch show that you got coming up, and we're going to have to talk about this, Detroit Anarchy Punk Rock Festival 3 that's going on to Loving Touch, which just look at the event page on Facebook. I know
it's looking like a banger.
We all hate social media, but it's looking like it's going to be a damn banger. What's next? Tours? You going to go over to Europe again? You going to live the dream more? What's the plan?
That is the plan. It's just we had a little bit of a hiccup for a year and a half, as we're all aware. Like, I was just starting to have conversations with people over there, like my friend in Serbia, whose name is Radula. He was talking about getting some stuff for us going, and Germany's I could book that stuff myself. I mean, I still have my contacts in there. I can book a club. It's not like touring here. Like, if you tour in Europe, you kind of get taken care of. Like here, it's like you get a drink ticket and a wet handshake and $50.
Casting Shadows Europe 2022.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe things have changed. I mean, I haven't toured there since 2013, so I might be, dreaming, but
Brexit fucked it all up, bro. I'm just kidding.
Fuck England.
I know.
I never liked touring there. I've been there, and I just, if you're a low level band in England, it's very difficult. If you're playing the O2 Academies, you're good to go, because they'll take. But if you're just playing the pubs as a touring band, it's torture. So, there's a couple pockets. There's some good. Nottingham has a good spot. London has a couple good spots for up and coming bands. So, but it's like you got to pay the ferry to get over there, and suddenly you're driving on the wrong side of the road with the steering wheel on the opposite side of the car, and you're like, oh shit, I'm gonna die. And so I'm not driving there, but the intention is to get our record out. I'm pretty much considering just putting out our live recording that I did in my studio with no overdub. It's just straight up us live. We played our last show in February of 2020, and we got together for the first time in July of 2020 and recorded the whole set, and it was perfect. It sounds perfect. So my thought is to release that. I got to make sure I've got a European distribution for that. I used to work for Cargo Records over there, so I've got it in there. But I mean, I used to run my own record label, for God's sake. That's how DIY I am. So my thought is I'll just put it out myself. Like the lead times on vinyl here are insane.
Yeah.
For punk rock, you need vinyl.
Mm-hmm.
You need it.
Hey, at least it's not made out of wood, bro.
Yeah. Punk rock, vinyl is a necessity, yes.
Yeah, but I mean, CDs are good to have for like just getting it out there quick. But I mean, I could just as well send a Google Drive link. You know, burn your own CD, you motherfucker. And it's just we'll see because Europe is still pretty much not up and functioning like here.
Right.
Like we've got. I had a show yesterday. I've got a show every weekend until September or October with either Strains or one of my other bands. I play in a band with Wendy Case called the Royal Sweets, and I play in a hardcore D-beat band called Bullet Wound. They played gigs. I played in Liz and the Luckouts. We played yesterday.
Oh yeah, you did.
So,
you played with Dead and Five yesterday, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, over at Smalls. Yep. That looked like a killer show.
One of the guitar players, and that was nice. It was real nice.
Yeah.
Good. It was good times. I fell into a garbage can. It was humiliating. Like some guy got up from his table, like out in the beer garden. I was like, oh man, I want to sit where he was. And I just kind of like blindly sat down where he was standing. I thought it was a chair. It was a fucking garbage can. And I went ass into that garbage can, feet sticking out. It was incredible. My butt was soaking wet in beer. And
dude,
and I was sober. It was humiliating.
Oh,
if I was drunk, I'd have an excuse.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say, as soon as you said I was sober, I was like, watch when he says I was drunk, it would have been great.
Yeah, when you're drunk, it's hilarious as shit, and it makes for good fodder.
Yeah.
When you're sober, you're like, oh, he's just clumsy.
This better not make it on social media.
You know, so in this, you're rattling off these bands that you're playing in, and the question comes in my head because I'm a guy, married, 2 kids, playing one band, do this bullshit radio show, play and quote unquote play in a band, and do this radio show, and I have time for one band. How do you make that time? Because I'm sure you have your 9-to-5 job that you go to, and how do you make that? How do you make that time?
With power naps.
With what?
With
power naps.
And what my wife says, ignoring my wife.
So you're married too. Ooh, you have probably the best wife in the world, because if I joined a second band, my wife would divorce me, take the kids, and be like, you're on your fucking own, son. So, when you're not playing in this plethora of bands and doing all this stuff, what's Paul Smith doing? What's the 9-to-5 with you? I always ask musicians this because people that see these bands live, they think, they just see the rock band. They just see the band on stage. They just see the guitar player, the singer, the bass player, the drummer, whatever. They don't know the behind the scenes stuff, the stuff that pays the bills. What's Paul Smith doing when he's not playing in bands?
Well, I used to work in real estate, which is hilarious because I was always in Europe. I was always on the verge of homelessness. So that's sweet irony that I was working for a company that was doing property management.
Mm-hmm.
I was operations director, but I quit that because I don't want to be a part of gentrification and ripping people off. So I quit. And now I work for a company that does access control systems and camera system installs for larger facilities. I'm a project manager. I just oversee stuff from 7 a.m. until 3 o'clock.
And then after that, it's band time. It's rock and roll for you.
It's rock and roll time. Actually, it's usually nap time for like 15 minutes, a power nap.
Wow, living the dream. You probably have the best wife in the world because, like I said, my wife would kill me. So, we're at after 9 o'clock. We've held you over a little long because this is phenomenally interesting.
Yeah, super insightful. Thank you very much.
So moving forward, talk about, because Sherry would kill me if I didn't throw out the show, Detroit Anarchy Punk Rock Festival 3. How did you get in touch with Sherry Claire, who is pretty much my OG mentor as far as show promotion and booking? How'd you get hooked up with her?
I don't even remember to be honest. It's just like one time she's like, "Hey, you want to play?" I'm like, "Sure." And that's kind of, I'm like a capybara, like just go with the flow, what you got, I'll do it. I'm a yes man, especially if it comes to rock and roll. So it's like Sherry's like, "You want to play a show?" I'm like, yeah. I think that's what happened. It's hard to remember. I might have been drunk, and and it's just she's very helpful, and like anytime she's got something going on, she'll ask us if we're interested, and if we're available, we'll do it. And we just like I've never on my own accord with this band. I don't recall reaching out to try to book a show. It's just like they kind of happen by osmosis. And like our next show next weekend is once again at Smalls. It's Mike Moyanis' birthday, and that's going to be the Strange Dirty Copper and Universal Temple of Divine Power.
That's a hell of a band name.
Burns. Yeah, Chuck Burns is in that band. I'm sure you heard of Chuck Burns.
Yeah. You seduce.
No, Bill Coates.
Yeah, I know Chuck Burns. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of his groups. So it's Chuck's birthday and Mike Moyanis' birthday, and he invited us to play. I was like, sure. I'm excited. I love playing Smalls. It's one of my favorite venues in town because it's like 5 blocks from my house.
So other than all that, we're going to wrap this up. Is there anything that we've missed that you want to touch on? Any shout outs, anything like that? Anything that we haven't talked about that you want to get out there to anybody that's either listening live right now or who are going to be listening in the next week or 2 or 3 or 4?
Yeah, I'd love to shout out to the guys in my band. I'd like to shout out to Tabor, who helped put it together. He's the bass player that quit. I'd like to give a shout out to anyone that supported us, man, and a shout out to you guys for having me on.
Super cool. Kevin, you got anything for Paul?
Dude, thank you so much for calling in. Like, literally all the stories, everything, the history, super cool to talk to you. Really appreciated. And I know all the listeners on the replays and everything are going to get a lot of value out of this. So thank you for everything, and keep on fucking rocking, dude.
Thank you. I will. Have a good one, guys.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Bye.
Bye. All right. That was Paul Smith from The Strains. We're a little bit over. Are you cool hanging out for a little bit more?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't go to work till tomorrow night. So
okay. So we're going to play a song, and we got to get into this thing with Hot Rock and the Ritz, or whatever they want to call it. We got a deep dive. We saved this to the end.
Deep dive.
They're technically and legally closed now, out of business. We're going to talk about everything, this boy right here and that situation. And we're going to do this after we play some Oscar Goldman Overdrive. Johnny was in the chat.
Yep.
And want to throw that out there. Johnny, his band OGO, they were going to be playing their album release with Hillbilly Knife Fight, Fallen Stronger, debut performance of The Line Within and Fuel the Fire.
If there was an award for best band name, I think they would be tied with the Dudes in Handsome Pants.
Yeah.
Like for legit best fucking band names. Those two are the top.
So we'll be right back in about 4.5 minutes. We're going to talk about this, legendary Detroit rock club going out of business, the drama behind all that. Kevin put out a big diatribe on it. We're going to dive into that for a minute, and then we'll sign off. So we're going to listen to First Sunday, even though this is technically the third Sunday, but we're going to listen to Oscar Goldman Overdrive First Sunday, and then we're going to wrap up with the Hot Rock, the Ritz debacle, and all this shit. And we're gonna lay it all out. We're gonna do it. Nobody's knocked on my door yet, so I think we're okay.
I will not dox anyone. I will give people facts, and that's it.
All right, so we'll be right back. Stay tuned. Share this on your social media. The big drama thing, everything Rikki ROXX lives for, is coming up after this song break. Thank you to Paul Smith from The Strains. Make sure you check them out at their show, Detroit Anarchy Punk Rock Festival 3, September 4th at the Loving Touch in Ferndale. Sherry Claire put the whole thing together, looking like a damn banger. We'll be right back after this, episode 110 of the Rikki ROXX Show, ROXX100.com. Cut that off too. It's a lot of buttons, bro. All right.
My God.
So, awesome talk with Paul Smith from the Strains. They got their big show coming up. They have a lot of shows coming up, but the big one, that if you're in the Metro Detroit area, you got to check out Detroit Anarchy Punk Rock Festival 3. It's their third one. Sherry does it every year. I love Sherry. I want to get her on the show. She got me started in booking, and she gave me my first shot at the New Way Bar in Ferndale many, many years ago. I want to get her on, but she's still kicking. She's doing a lot of cool stuff.
She's been around, like, even when I came into music, like, doing local shows, like, Sherry was kind of in that echelon of people like, hey, if you ever get in contact with her, like, she's the person to help and make shit happen.
Like, one of the very few honest actual promoters and booking people in Detroit. This is the first one they're doing at the Loving Touch. They used to do it at the PJ's Lager House the last 2 years. This year, I guess they are doing it in Ferndale. They're going to Ferndale, fabulous Ferndale, where I grew up. And where I got my start in booking, right down the street from the Loving Touch. And so
just
that's
north of 8 Mile.
It's just north of 8 Mile. Yeah, so,
I was more so taking a shot at you, but
yeah, it's just south of 9. So super cool. So check it out. September 4th at the Loving Touch. The Strains will be there. You heard them before the interview, what they have going on. And then we also played some Oscar Goldman Overdrive first Sunday. You can check them out August 7th at Diesel, 5 minutes from my house. So as long as Casting Shadows doesn't have a show that day, and I'm not hungover, I will be there. Hillbilly Knife Fight, Fallen Stronger, The Lion Within, featuring Jason Kane. Fuel the Fire, featuring...
Did you do the flyer?
I didn't do the flyer.
Oh, I was going to say, that'd be funny.
The Lion
do featuring Jason Kane.
Yeah, I know. And Fuel the Fire, featuring members of a lot of awesome bands. Scotty Lushka from... Chaos Theory and all that. So it's going to be super cool. And I can't wait to see who's actually in The Line Within and Fuel the Fire.
Yeah, because as far as we know,
it's just Jason Kane in The Line Within. I don't know.
How funny would it be if it's all holograms of Jason Kane playing other instruments?
Jesus Christ.
I kid. Like, Jason's an amazing guitar player, but we got to poke a little fun at the guy.
Yeah, he did the same thing with Circle the Crown. I had them booked on Rockstock.
Their band had like 10,000 likes before a single fucking show.
It was like... literally like with Circle the Crown. I booked him on Rockstock in 2017. Shudder played it. Mm-hmm. And he was just like, it's just me. And then we did a big thing when I had my studio, when I was at Diffuse and I had the studio. He's like, I'm going to bring in the guys one at a time.
See,
so I'm like,
the
Jesus
the one thing I will give Jason credit for,
you're phenomenal at this content.
Dude, he should do like PR and like content management for people, because the dude's got it in fucking droves.
He's making content. He has this swell of content of just announcing the members who are in his fucking band.
No, exactly. Like, there's that aura, and like, it's hard to like learn that. You know what I mean? Like, we used to joke with him back in the day, like the Zoolander shit, like. But like, he's got that, and it's just.
I'm surprised he's not milking this for content like crazy. Like
he's gonna reshare this tomorrow.
Okay, if I was Jason Kane, this is what I would do. The OGO show is how many weeks away? August. Oh, so he ain't got much time. I would have been like, every week we're gonna announce a new member of the band.
Ooh.
And come up with like a video thing and do like a. Because Jason's good at video
like
and
the
shit.
WWE walkthrough, but have like the face blacked out, so you don't really know.
Like, do the video like the silhouette, and then it's like, just take a picture of the silhouette of like the bass player, and then we're gonna announce it. And make a production.
So many
out of the
opportunities.
Fucking thing. So many opportunities. I wish I was Jason Kane. Fuel the Fire kind of did it. They kind of have like a promo video. And you can kind of see who's in it, but the only guy I recognized was Scott Lushka.
Right. They are almost on the equivalent of like when Slipknot had to replace fucking Joey Jordison and then the other dude that fucking had the dildo nose or whatever that hit the kegs with the baseball.
Well,
bat.
It's like Mustaine has been doing it now with their new bass player after they fired Elfson for jacking off with underage girls.
Oh yeah.
So this is a big one. If you're from Metro Detroit, I feel like I wouldn't be doing my job, as a radio guy, as a
shit starter /
just wanting to get shit out there in the open and let people know what's going on. And so I'm gonna throw this out there. Okay, so if you guys know the Ritz, for many, many years, even before I was even born, the Ritz was a thing. Legendary rock venue. You had your biggest bands in the world. Either they were playing Blondies or they were playing the Ritz. Back in like the 80s and early 90s.
We're talking bands that aren't playing like the Joe Lewis's.
When they're coming up, like Megadeth has played. I believe they've played the Ritz when they were coming up. It's the equivalent
of like Frankie's in Toledo. Nirvana played there, Smashing Pumpkins,
or the Blind Pig in Ann Arbor, where Nirvana played there and shit like that.
Storied history.
Very storied history. They were at Gratiot and Frazzo for many years, and then they moved over to 11 and Hoover. In the greater, I moved out of it, but the greater Warren-ish area. And today was, as of, I believe, 4.5 hours ago, permanently closed. There's a lot of
conjecture.
There's a lot of rumors going out around why they closed, what's going on. Then you dig a little bit deeper, and there's the Ronnie going into Kelly Tucker / substance issue, human trafficking issue.
Well, it all starts with Kelly, essentially.
Well, for me, it started going down with Ron.
True.
And then it kind of just, like my stock portfolio, it was fine for a little bit. It was super cool. Then you hit that first thing and it starts to dive a little bit. Then you hit that other, the earnings report came in and they made $0, like the Reds, and it just tanked. And so Kevin and Chris Tucker, Kelly's mom, you guys have been deep diving and researching and digging and pretty much like Inspector Gadget kind of shit, digging into shit. This is what I feel like we should do at this point, because a lot more of the facts than I do. Go into the facts that about Hot Rock, the Ritz, and then after you're done, I'll come in with the conjecture and the rumors that I have heard as to why they closed. So everything I say will be conjecture and rumors.
Right.
You're going to throw out facts. So that's how does that seem fair? Does that seem okay?
I think that's the most honest way to go about it.
And then let the listeners make their own damn conclusions.
So I made a Facebook post earlier, and literally everything that Chris has done is just mind-blowing. Like the amount of connections that she's made with like certain things that happened is just truly crazy. So like I was asleep like the night you fucking called Steph, and
when Kelly passed,
and like at the time I was just like, okay, like I don't know, maybe something happened, maybe he was doing some drugs and like it just went wrong. Like a lot of it just seemed to be not amiss. Like it was just one of those situations where you're like, bad place, wrong time, whatever the case may be. The fucked up thing is when it happened, it was like right before fucking COVID. So you had the lockdowns, the cops never showed up that night. So a lot of the due diligence that should have been done to basically figure out what happened was just never done. The real test though for me was when Chris finally came up to me and was like, this is the autopsy. How fucked up is this? And
go into the autopsy, because it was in your post. So I feel we can talk about this.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm going off
and go
facts.
Off what people have said the reason he died and what the autopsy showed.
Okay, so the reason he died, according to his friends, as I use air quotations, was he was there. I don't know all the circumstances of the show, but it was like,
from what I had heard, he was doing prep for a show that he was promoting, and he was going to be running sound for. So running wires, this is what I heard. Maybe conjecture, maybe Chris can enlighten me, but from what I was told that night, the night that Kelly passed, he was at the Ritz, where he'd always go. if he was working or not. He'd get a burger and fries and have his Heineken. And
he was a professional sound guy. Like, he wanted to be in a venue doing sound.
And he had a show coming up, which ended up being kind of his quasi memorial show. He was getting the stage set up, making sure everything was working, and working on the stage and all that. And he had his token beer and fries and burger, and this is where it kind of goes awry. Kevin, now you can take it from here.
Okay, so till this day, we truly don't really know the course of events, because every person that's really came forward has said something a little different. Oh, he was fine, we were doing this, and then he collapsed. Well, we've heard he's collapsed in like multiple different spots.
Mm-hmm.
But what I can tell you is I've gone over the autopsy with Chris, with a federal prosecutor, and with a nurse, and there was no injection marks. There was nothing in his nasal cavity.
So nothing heroin wise
or cocaine.
Which is cocaine in the nose. If you die of cocaine, you overdose on cocaine, you'll have cocaine residue in your nose
or mouth. I mean, like in your anywhere.
Throat, anywhere in the nasal cavity on down. If you were on heroin, you'd be able to see since it was like that you'd be able to see something,
right?
Like a stab mark or a track mark or something. And me knowing Kelly, he never dabbled with needles.
Like we all knew what Kelly was into, and like the fact is, like, if he would have OD'd on coke and the autopsy reflected that, we all would have been like, fuck, like
it got him this one time,
right?
Yeah,
you drew the short straw,
yeah,
and like it wouldn't have made it any better, but it would have been.
You would have known.
Exactly.
You would have known. Okay, we all know he dabbled in it from here and there, and he just kind of
tried to push the limit a little too much, and
yeah.
And I mean, we've seen rock stars have that happen.
But the autopsy showed what?
It was only fentanyl.
No cocaine. No injection sites.
Nope.
Nothing in the nose. Fentanyl in the system.
Yeah. So he had minimal amount of alcohol. Like
probably the amount of a Heineken that he would normally have had with his lunch or dinner.
Yeah. So, and the only residual cocaine that was in his system, like they literally said in the autopsy report, was not like recently used. So I think with cocaine, you can test up to 24 to 48 hours, right? Something along those lines.
It's a couple days.
So like if they did the autopsy and it would have been like a lot of cocaine with fentanyl, it would have been very obvious.
If it was a lot of cocaine and a little bit of fentanyl, I'd be like, okay, it was laced.
Yeah.
But if it's a majority fentanyl and okay, yeah, he might have did a bump 2 days ago.
But it was all fentanyl.
Yeah.
And the residuals were like already processed and metabolized. So given science and biology, like they literally said, this is what happened.
Cocaine didn't kill him. It was fentanyl.
Exactly. I cleared it with the federal prosecutor, cleared it with the fucking nurse. And that's where the whole beginning of this started. And I don't know how Chris was able to put in all the hours of work that she did and all the digging.
Let me throw this out there too. Fentanyl, if you don't know how much it takes to kill somebody,
it's like the size of a fucking...
Take a penny.
Yeah, a penny.
Take a penny and a quarter of that penny.
Yep.
You can drop a little thing of fentanyl on there. That's all it takes to kill you.
Yep.
Something very easy to flick on somebody's shit or drop in somebody. It doesn't take a lot. It's not like you gotta do rails of fentanyl to die. It's literally the quarter size of a penny.
Yep.
So continue.
So when Chris contacted me about the autopsy, immediately I was just like, wow, this is like way beyond what I thought. Well, because at that point I literally figured like, okay, maybe it was an adverse reaction or like just bad
because
luck.
He has what was it, asthma or he needed an inhaler.
Yeah, I mean Kelly's asthma, it was kind of hit or miss.
Yeah,
but I just looked at it as it was a shitty circumstance of this happened, and he just so happened to be the unfortunate drawer of the short straw. And over the course of the last year, it couldn't be any further from the fucking truth.
All right, let's get into the nitty gritty. That's gonna get the mafioso at my front door.
Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of run through it. If you want to see the post, you can look me up on Facebook, Razlog Kevin. A bunch of people have shared it. I'm sure you can find it. The biggest problem with all of this was when Chris started digging. She, God bless her, did so much to piece so much of this together. Basically what happened, they called 911. They said, okay, this guy OD'd. Warren police are not going to look at an OD as something significant. And I think it was within like a couple days the pandemic and the lockdown started. So
yeah,
you've already,
because he died in what, February? February of 2020.
Yeah, so
like
it was
mid-February.
It was February 24th.
Yeah,
the pandemic literally started literally within 5 days of that.
Yeah.
So you've got everything getting locked down. No one can do shit. But part of the problem is like Warren PD, like they're overwhelmed with so much actual crime. Like, and I'm not saying this isn't an actual crime.
That's why I moved.
When they call in an OD, for them, it's going to be, okay, we'll send the meat wagon out for them. When we get a chance, they're not going to go investigate. I'm not going to dox anyone. That's just not my style. Plus, who fucking knows? I mean, probably already got a hit on me. But two of the people there.
So Casting Shadows might be looking for a drummer.
Right.
Drummers hit me up.
So two of the people there literally told Chris, numerous other people, he was looking for coke, this, and that. We went and did a couple lines. As we were walking out, basically collapsed. I'm giving a synopsis. I'm not giving the whole story.
Sure.
I'm not at liberty to do that, and I don't want to do that. So, for a while until Chris got the autopsy, like I assumed, and I was under the assumption that okay, like I had said a couple times, when she came back, I literally have a copy of it and I went through it and I'm like, none of this fucking adds up. The prosecutor I talked to was like, well, it's tough because the intent's not there. The proof to put somebody in prison is not there. But this is fucking fucked up. Like it doesn't make any sense. And, with them closing.
Well, can we go into, because you're telling me off air about somebody who knew Kelly, who knew somebody who was on that list of people that got busted in that drug hooker ring.
Oh, the human trafficking one.
The human trafficking thing.
So, May of last
year. Just to kind of draw this line from this to Kelly.
No, I got you. Okay, so in May, there was a 56-person bust for prostitution, drugs, and human trafficking. I
think it was 32.
There was 2 busts.
Oh, okay.
The first one was like 30-something. The other one was 56. And one of the people was a promoter there. And the owner openly was sharing that person's posts. There was also 2 or 3 other individuals
in the hip hop community.
There was also 2 or 3 other individuals that were busted in that same sting operation that weren't necessarily employees but had ties to said venue. So my post literally is only spouting facts. He did not take cocaine. He died from fentanyl. The people that told him, and they were all affiliated with the venue that he took cocaine that night, well, sorry,
you're wrong.
Autopsies do not lie.
Mm-hmm.
And my whole point with that post was the one dude chastised Chris and messaged her and said, you don't know about my business. Mm-hmm. I wanted to refute back, we know all about your fucking business. You guys have been busted or have had people been busted for human trafficking, prostitution, fucking drugs, a bunch of foul shit. I mean, there's probably more shit than we even fucking know about, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
They can rebuttal me.
This is just shit that's been proven.
Yeah.
Okay.
If they want to rebuttal me, I'm all for it. Come in front of me, present your facts. I'm all for it. But I know deep down inside, they don't have any facts. They suppressed the camera footage of everything that fucking happened that night.
So what happened with that? Because me as a guy who frequented Hot Rock and the Ritz for many, many years when I was living in Warren. Now it's a little bit too far. I go Diesel now because it's 2 minutes down the road. But when I was living in Warren, the Ritz and Hot Rock was kind of like my home base. And the thing that on your post was cameras and shit like that. I've never. Has it been confirmed that they do have cameras there? Okay, yes.
It's been corroborated by former and current, were current employees. And I'm not talking 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. I'm talking multiple.
Okay, so it's been confirmed by them that they do have cameras in there. Were they operational cameras?
It's been confirmed that the dude with the name of F sits there and watches them.
Okay,
nonstop.
so the cameras are getting fed to somewhere, and somebody's watching this. So it's not like we have the cameras up there as a deterrent, but we don't really use them, because there are businesses that do that.
Well, I know their Achilles heel. They're physical tapes that get rewritten over.
Because I know there's a lot of businesses, and kind of playing devil's advocate here.
No, and that's fine.
That there's businesses that will put cameras up. They're not hooked up to fucking anything.
Kroger,
but they're
all those little black domes, 90% of them don't have cameras in them.
They're used as a deterrent because if somebody comes in wanting to do some wrongful, shady shit, be like, ooh, I see cameras here. Maybe here's not the best place to do my shit. But in this case, it's been confirmed, yes,
by multiple people,
that those cameras were actually feeding footage to somewhere.
From what I've been told, one of the individuals literally just sits there and watches them.
Is this on site, off site?
Well, that person's not on site, but they could be in their basement like us and watching everything that's going on.
Right.
And that's not uncommon. When I worked at Burger King when I was 14, the owner of the restaurant had CC cameras in every instance of the fucking building.
Yeah.
And that was in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Okay. I just want to make sure that it wasn't maybe
I gotcha.
just staged cameras as a deterrent.
No, I gotcha. But like I said, it's been confirmed by multiple people.
Okay, so where are we at? Now, because I'm trying to play the devil's advocate here and kind of give the other side and maybe things that like I said, with cameras, you don't know if they're on or they're off or whatever's going on. So this place has the cameras. So assuming they're able to hit the bar, where all their money is and all that shit. Take us, continue your story, I guess.
Okay, so this is the gist of it, right? So if there was no wrongdoing, or even if it was a total accident, that they weren't affiliated with, they could have easily just been like, hey, here's the camera footage of what happened.
Yeah.
They literally could have. Chris asked for it. Never got it.
What's been that response? Because I'm assuming Warren, Michigan PD, went in there and asked. I'm sure Chris asked. They don't have to give anything to Chris.
True.
Because it's like
Chris
you just
and I had to have that discussion numerous times.
They could just be like, yeah, fuck you. If I get a what do they call it, a search warrant, then they'd have to give it up. Was there anything like that? Where Warren PD is like, yo, I need footage.
This is where it gets fucked up, though. Is a week after, or literally the week he died, the pandemic started. She didn't get the autopsy for 6 fucking months. So what is she supposed to do?
Right.
There was no formal investigation done. The cops didn't even show up to the venue because they assumed, it's an OD, tough luck. That's what you get for being a junkie.
It is what it is.
We all know that wasn't Kelly, but I look at it as it was literally a perfect storm for them to not be held accountable, because any other time of the year, barring a fucking pandemic, somebody fucking dies, especially at a music venue.
Yeah.
Cops are going to show up.
Right. But cops show up there. This was pre-pandemic. If there's a fight, I've seen fights go down at that place, and the cops are there in 2 minutes.
Yeah, cops didn't even
because
show up, period.
The cop shop in Warren, because I lived right around the block from it, was at 12 and Van Dyke, which is 3 miles away, 3-4 miles away. You can get a cop down to Hot Rock / the Ritz in 5 minutes. You know, once they get the dispatch call, boom, from 12 in Van Dyke to 11 in Hoover.
But also keep in mind, at that point in time, there was a lot of rumblings going on about potential lockdowns with COVID. Like, things were already on edge.
Right.
So it doesn't surprise me. Let me reiterate, Chris did not ask for the camera footage. I misspoke on that. But either way, if they wanted to exonerate themselves, they've had every ample opportunity to do that.
Well, but, you know, and with that...
It shouldn't be her to have to ask.
Well, with that, it would be like if I was... Say Rikki ROXX is running a bar. Okay, I got my club, I got my venue. Somebody dies or somebody gets taken away by an ambulance... Wouldn't it be something you'd want to save on your hard drive?
Oh, dude, and trust me.
I mean, that's just me. You know, that wouldn't be something you'd be like, we can just tape over it or let it go.
Okay,
or
if I'm a
like
business
that.
owner, I'm using that to protect my business.
That's the part that irks me. Like, if those cameras were really going,
right?
You know, the camera that got... You know, that was maybe watching his beer, you know, because from what I've heard, his shit was at the end of the bar, his burger, fries, and his Heineken. I'd feel like that would be on a camera.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's at the bar. That's where the money transactions are. That's where the credit card transactions are. That's where the business is being done.
Yep.
You know, and if they have cameras out at the stage, that's a whole different thing. But, if I was a business owner, just me, you know, I'd feel like, okay, somebody got taken away in an ambulance in my place. Maybe I should save that video or save that hour.
I mean, there
needs
needs to be some accountability.
You know, I'd just be like, if there's going to be any video that I'm going to save, it's going to be that. It's going to be that. Like, what are you going to save video for if it's not that?
Right.
You know, that's why you have that video there.
And let's not forget that multiple people there claimed Kelly was their best friend. We go back. We're boys. So let me ask you this, right? Let's just say you and your boys are driving around doing some stupid shit, and you're videotaping all of it.
Sure.
Get in a fucking car accident, your buddy dies.
Yeah.
Do you just delete the fucking footage?
I wouldn't. Unless it was my fault.
But you weren't driving.
If it was my...
But either way, it's something you don't just delete.
You don't delete that.
Even if you're fucking guilty, that just shows the level of fucking not giving a shit about somebody.
That's the part that kind of, you know, because up until I heard about all this, I'm like, okay, maybe it was just something, maybe it was out of camera range. You know, maybe when he fell down, it was in that one blind spot where the cameras didn't get it.
Which is totally plausible.
You know, maybe it was they only had 3 cameras and they were just pointing at the cash bank and it was outside the realm of where it actually happened. That's where my head goes.
For sure.
You know, it's like, you know, because let's be completely honest, it's not like the Ritz is like the fucking machine shop or something like that, where they have cameras on every fucking corner of the place, keeping an eye on every fucking thing. But it is Warren. But, you know, I'm like, it's a low budget place. You know, so I'm like, you know, my mind, I was thinking, well, maybe they didn't catch anything. Maybe nothing was on video.
So this is the thing. If you didn't catch anything, just give us the video anyways. How hard is that?
Yeah.
Hey, dude, like we went through all the video. We checked every angles. This is what we have. Even if they would have altered the videos, that would have been more believable. Look at our fucking government, bro.
Right.
Jet fuel melts steel beams. You know, like, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. But, I mean, let's be honest. If they wanted to prove beyond a reasonable fucking doubt, they could have showed one fucking clip. Like, one little clip.
Mm-hmm.
That would have done so much for them to disprove they were somehow involved.
Right.
But over the course of the last year and a half, all the fucking connections with the other fucking shit that's happened, it's undeniable that something fucked up happened that night.
So take me through this. This is another thing I kind of got out of your post. And if you want to read the whole post that Kevin put, hit him up on Facebook, Razlog Kevin, or what is it, Razlog KM1425 or whatever.
Razlo 1KM.
There it is. You know, you can check out the whole post. which this is what kind of got me thinking that there were a lot of different stories.
Yep.
Inconsistencies with the stories from people that were there.
Yep.
And the other thing that got me from your post was, and I don't know anything about this stuff. This is all stuff yourself and Chris have found out through your investigation.
Other people that have helped
and other people. I'm not in full disclosure. I have nothing in this, myself. But in your post, you posted that the stories were different and there was assaults because of this. Can you give any more info on that?
Yeah, and like I said, I'm not going to dox anyone because I would really feel bad for anyone to unfortunately deal with any bullshit, because I'm just trying to give facts.
Yeah.
The facts I can give you is 3 different people told Chris and or Nick and or other people different spots where he supposedly collapsed.
Okay, so can we deep dive a little bit into that? Because
there's
hard.
a fine line of stuff that I can say with confidence, and there's also the libel,
because
I also don't know what Warren PD is still doing.
Okay, so
I don't want to potentially jeopardize it.
So I'll just say what I've heard, and with that disclaimer again, that I know nothing about this investigation. I know nothing other than what people have told me, and that's the disclaimer. So. I've heard he collapsed by the bar. I've heard he collapsed by the front door, which is, if you guys have never been to the Ritz or Hot Rock, it's probably
that's a decent amount of difference.
60, 70 foot difference.
Yeah.
And I've
I've
heard he collapsed on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Which from the bar is probably about another 40, 50 feet in a different direction. So it's, pretty much half the bar at that point.
Right.
I've been told he's collapsed at certain parts of this.
Right.
So do we know where they picked him up at?
I can't confidently say.
Okay, so they haven't put that out. So that alone is... There's a lot of different stories. What are some of the variances in stories that you've heard that you can divulge?
You literally just pointed out most of
to
them.
Where he went down.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know if I doubt he's listening. If there's anybody involved that wants to call in the next 5 or 6 minutes, I'm going to open up the phone lines 313-829-0545. Call and let me know what the heck happened, and I'll leave this open. Any show we do from here on out, if there's any info you have as to what happened, when a phone number comes up, I don't have a name, so you can leave your name out if you opt to leave your name out.
Yeah, honestly, at this point, the
just kind of want to know what the fuck happened.
No, the amount of people that have reached out to not only Chris but myself, has been great. But the fucked up thing is, we'll kind of tell them a little bit, and they'll go, "Oh my god, this makes so much more sense."
Yeah.
That just to me speaks of how fucked up the shit is there, or was. It's really fucking disappointing that, everything went down the way that it did. Kelly poured his heart and soul into that place.
Yeah.
And at the very fucking least, he deserved better than that, man. I mean, we both had falling outs with Kelly.
Oh, yeah.
And we fucking pulled our bootstraps up, fucking,
manned up
and fucking dealt with it. It's just really disappointing. And the only thing that I can say is Chris held on to this for so fucking long. It needed to be fucking said. I really don't care if people want to support that family, the venue, whatever, going forward. I want them to know the kind of people they're dealing with. That is a very fucked up, very shitty situation.
So, is that the end of is there anything else you want to throw on there before I throw out the rumor mill and throw out things that I've heard and kind of let everybody else kind of draw their conclusions from it. Is there anything we missed from your post? Because it was a fucking long read. I had to take 2 bathroom breaks reading it.
If I go missing, you all know where to look. That's all I'll say.
And things that I've heard as far as Sherry Claire in the chat says, I never liked Hot Rock. Don't know what Kelly saw. Kelly saw this is what I know.
Kelly saw the best in shit.
He saw the best in everybody.
And it was like, it wasn't his downfall, but like he could see.
But it ended up being his downfall.
He saw potential in shit that just needed some work, right? And that's a really, really good trait. The problem is, he was such a good go-to guy that like people could depend on. And he was really at a point where he was getting his life in order. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what kills like me personally the most.
Yeah.
I went through some of the shit with Kelly. You did too.
Yeah.
I mean, Chris, tons of people can comment like he had his troubles with alcohol. There was points in time where he was abusing this and being an idiot about that. But like the funniest thing was, once he got his shit back in order, like he would hit me up. He'd be like, "Hey, bro, like I know we kind of had our differences, but like I'm working on this. Like, could you help me out with a tour date?" And then like I'd hit him up and be like, "Hey, like I kind of have some questions about sound." And then boom, like everything rekindled, and like he went out to Colorado, and I was like, "Dude, I'm so fucking happy for you." And he literally had so much fucking awesome shit going for him. Like shit we dream about.
Yeah.
Like he
was living it.
Like
he was living what
he was
going to
be doing sound with Ava. Like we all know that. They were going to be doing some big fucking tours. Kelly had the rest of his life to basically just be a badass fucking sound guy, touring, living the fucking dream. And it was stopped in a fucking instance over some bullshit.
Yeah.
I think I have a good idea of what it was, but once again, until I have concrete evidence, I'm not going to speak.
And so I'm going to say this, Grant, like I said before, full disclosure, I know nothing of the investigation. I know nothing of other than what Kevin and Chris have publicly posted. That's the extent of what I know, from whatever sources and all that. I haven't talked to anybody, I haven't gotten it.
This is Rikki distancing himself from me.
It's literally one of those things where I'm like, okay, well, it's you, Chris, and Lori that are pretty much spearheading this shit. There's nothing more I can do. If something falls on my lap, I'm going to share it. Right. But nobody's going to tell fucking Rikki because I'm going to go on my radio show and spout about it. So now ain't nobody telling me shit.
Right.
But things I've heard through the grapevine on why that venue closed on such short notice.
Yeah.
Because it was literally
big red flag.
It was literally a couple days ago. Hey, we're closing on Sunday.
Yep.
Not 2 months from now.
Let's finish out our shows.
A lot of promoters were like, I hit up a couple of promoters and they're like, I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And then the day after, I think it was like Thursday, we're closing on Sunday afternoon, 5 o'clock.
Yep.
We're done. From what I've heard, and I got to preface this again, conjecture, speculation, rumors. I don't know if it's true. I don't know what's up. I've heard everything from the liquor license was getting taken away because of the investigations. I've heard that if they didn't close down, there was going to be criminal suits going down, and if you know that family, they have a lot to lose. They're very well off people. And
people that are well off typically don't have a lot to lose.
So
they have lawyers for that.
I've heard everything from, like I said, that losing the liquor license, you can't have a fucking rock and metal venue or hip hop venue without a liquor license. Ain't nobody gonna fucking go.
It's pretty tough.
I've heard everything from that front to, hey, you guys close up shop now. We'll just let everything fucking fly and just let it fucking go. If you guys just sell now, because that place has been up for sale from what I've heard from a lot of people. Again, conjecture and
I saw a post on Craigslist like 1.5 years, 2 years ago
that they've been trying to sell that place for a long time, and it whether that's true or not, that they sold it to a dispensary. It's no longer going to be a venue, and they're just going to grow or sell weed, whatever the fuck they're going to do.
Plot twist: they sell it to a different partner, and they still launder money out of it. Oh,
that was something I heard too. Again, all conjecture and all rumors. It is what it is. But just want to throw that out there, and I feel like I wouldn't be doing my boy any justice by letting that slide, not talking about it on the show, because Kelly was a co-host on my show for many years and a good friend of mine.
I also want to say one other thing.
Yeah.
If anyone has any actual facts that can reboot or rebuttal anything I've said, I'm totally on board to hear it. Please prove me wrong. I would love to be proven wrong. Unfortunately, I highly fucking doubt that's the case. But hey, if you got proof, slam it in my face.
Yeah. I'm going to...
The ball's in their court. They want to prove themselves right. Fuck, do it.
If that family wants to call, I'd be more than happy to hear theirs, because it's cliche at this point, but there's two sides to every damn story.
For sure. But
there's
I want
stories
facts.
to it. There's two stories.
And
but I want to hear...
My post was all facts.
I want to hear what I think the listeners would love to hear the other side of it. Oh, yeah. Because right now we're getting, in all truth, we're getting the Kelly Crusaders,
right?
Side of the story.
Well, it's almost going like Netflix documentary of like, how fucked up is this rabbit hole going?
Yeah, we're getting that one side. I'd love to, Joey's a good guy. I'd love to hear from Joey. I love to hear from Frankie. I've known them both for many, many years. I'd love to hear from them and see what actually, from their perspective, what happened. I'd love to hear it. And I'll keep the phone line. I'll close out any interview that I have, to hear that side, because I feel, that the listeners and people that care deserve both sides.
Wow, look at you.
Well,
you're going for the full story, Ricky.
Well, I mean, it's a responsible thing to do.
I can't fault you.
It's a responsible thing to do. Whether it's...
how many times did I say off air, I'm willing to listen to them. I just deep down inside know everything they're going to say is bullshit because of what I've done.
Yeah.
But you're the unbiased third party in this situation. And if they wanted to reach out to you and be like, hey, let's clear the fucking air, dude, by all means, prove it. But it can't be conjecture and it can't be fucking hearsay. That's my biggest thing.
I just want to hear what they have to say.
But that's the problem. Is I don't think...
And then let the listeners and let everybody else take that information that they're presented and make their own decisions.
Okay, yeah,
whether
fair.
it be you, whether it be Chris, whether
that's
it
fair.
be Nick, Kelly's brother, or anybody out there who gives a shit about it.
That's fair.
Let them draw their own conclusions, because from... taking that other side, if they were to call in, they'd be like, Raz, everything you're saying is fucking media bullshit and it's all clickbait. They could say that. All those news articles, clickbait.
Okay.
That's the approach you could take.
I know.
And
but when there's billboards of the people's names and what they got busted with, it's not clickbait. But I get what you're saying.
You can throw, they haven't been convicted of anything. They just got picked up. They've never been convicted. There's a whole different realm of stuff from the other side that they can throw at this.
They actually all were convicted, but I get what you're saying.
And to, as a radio guy, and I try to be as legit as I can be, it would be unfair of me to just cater to one side and not give the opportunity to.
And honestly, Ricky, you
Joey
saying
and
this
Frank.
right now is kind of mind blowing to me because I was not expecting that at all.
Well, it's only fair.
No,
it's only fair to
that's very true.
To get to both sides. So I'll throw it out to anybody involved at that venue to let the listeners know in perpetuum, because the show will never go away. It's going to be on YouTube for the fucking end of time, to put their side out there. Whether if they want to do it on Facebook and write a post, I'll fucking read it.
So let me ask you this, right?
Yeah.
Say somebody directly involved finally reaches out to you.
Sure.
Is there any part of you that goes, dude, this happened so long ago, no matter what you say, like,
no,
this is kind of looking a little fucking shady? There's not a little part of you that goes like, why did it take this long?
Well, I'd ask the questions just like I was talking to you. I was taking devil's advocate.
No. But I'm saying like radio show aside.
Yeah.
Like, as a father, as a fucking married man that has 2 kids, is there a little part of you that would go, even if what you were telling me was the absolute truth, it's kind of fucked up it took this long?
The longer it goes, the more I'd start thinking like that. You know, at this point, if everything you're saying, you know, if any of the rumors I had were true, I'd be like, okay, it sucks, but they were trying to save a business. If I hear from them 10 years from now,
they're trying to save a business over their best friend. But let that resonate. Just saying.
I understand that. You know, if it comes like next week, I get a phone call from Joe or Frank, I'd be like, okay, well, at least now you're saying your part. You know, the place is closed, it's sold, it's gone. They have nothing to lose at this point.
No legal repercussions.
You know,
OJ. That's literally what they're fucking doing.
If it didn't fit, it must have quit.
Exactly.
You know, I want to, you know, since this is the first time we've really dove deep into this, you know, if they call next week, one of those guys, you know, whether it be Joe Senior, Little Joey, or Frankie, or a waitress, or somebody who refuses to be named, and give that side of the story, of course I'm going to hear it. It'd be the only responsible thing to do. Whether it's bullshit or it's fact is irregardless.
So, Ricky, if 30 or 40 people that were like ex-employees or people very close to the situation called in and said the same story I did, what would that do?
Well, now we know what the facts are.
Okay.
Because right now, you know, playing devil's advocate.
And I'm totally cool with that.
Playing devil's advocate, it's 2 people's investigation.
Yep.
You know, nobody knows what happened for sure,
right,
other than that handful of people that were there.
Right.
You know, you know, you've heard from some of those people, and we haven't talked to any of those people. You know, so you know as well as me, things get lost in translation. You know, playing devil's advocate again, things can get lost in translation.
Well, there's a reason why Chris and I haven't spoke up about it for this long. You know, because we needed to cross the T's and dot the I's, you know, but we could only cross so many T's and dot so many I's.
You know, I can say the same thing 500 different ways, and it'd be taken 500 different perspectives.
For sure.
You know, it's my job as a public personality and a radio host to be open to, you know, not being fucking Fox News and taking one side of the fucking story.
No, and I totally agree. And the funny thing is, I've known you a long time.
Yeah.
Like how long we go back, the fact that you're taking this stance on it actually is kind of impressive to me. And at the same time, a little surprising. But I'm actually very impressed and happy that you are taking that stance, because just because, you know, Chris and I and numerous other people have done all this digging doesn't necessarily mean we know the whole story.
I want to know the story.
And that's the thing. Chris and I want to know the fucking story.
You know, and you know, what they say is, you know, there's 2 sides of a story and the truth lies somewhere in the middle.
Exactly.
You know, so what, you know, if they decide to call in and put this out on the public record, you know, if they post something on Facebook, I'll relay it this way, and you know, the truth is going to be somewhere in the middle. You know, you got one side, they undoubtedly have an other side of it,
to which they've never said anything.
And I'm opening up this platform to them to do this show, throw it out on YouTube. Throw it out on Facebook, throw it out on Twitter, everywhere the show goes, and people across the world who listen to this, you know, to put their side out, because that's, you know, my job as a public servant of information, you know, to get both sides of anything that's of this magnitude. You know, if it's something like dumb shit, like where a band recorded a fucking record, and all I need is one fucking side of the story, but, so yeah, that's what's up. You got anything else? I don't know what to fucking play to close this show out. I'm like looking. I'm like, that's maybe in bad taste. You know, to play. I've been scrolling through songs for like the last 10 minutes. To kind of play something that would
change. Play fucking change.
There,
come on.
There you go. I got to scroll all the way back
to our fallen brother Kelly. We're still fighting the fight for you, brother. And,
searching for the truth, man. Searching for the truth.
Yeah, and I mean, like, the thing that kills me the most out of it was he was, like, you and I both know Kelly had some rough patches, but we deeply knew the good that was inside of him. A lot of people that met him would have been like, oh, well, like, he was out of control, this and that, but, like,
at that point in his life, he wasn't.
Well, no, like, we spent a lot of time with him, and especially in those younger years, like, we still saw the good, but, like, near the end, and that's what pisses me off the most, is that, like, him and I would converse on Facebook, and I'm like, man, I'm so fucking happy for you, like, you're doing this, you're doing that, and, like, we were both so busy. And then next thing you know, like, I wake up to Steph fucking crying, and she's like, Kelly's fucking, and I'm like, dude, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
Yeah, I saw him, like, I sent the show after it happened. I saw him about 2 weeks before it all went down. He was running sound at Diesel, and he was the happiest motherfucker on earth. He's like, oh, dude, I'm got all this shit coming up, dude. Things are finally starting to work out for me. I'm finally got my lot in life. I know what I'm doing now, you know, and so that's why it's like, you know, people are like, oh, he did it to himself. No, bullshit. He had the world at his plate at that point.
Right.
You know?
Well, and like the fucked up thing the most was him being a guitar player and then going into sound was like, it was just so funny. He had such an ear for it, and that's a tough business in itself.
Yeah.
And like, Kelly always made everything difficult. More difficult than it needed to be. That was typical Kelly. But he took on an aspect of music that's not glorified. It's not fancy. It's not typically paid super well, but it's fucking integral.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was always Kelly's thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to make you need me. And his fucked up mindset. I'm going to make you fucking need me, bitch.
You need me, you shitheads.
Exactly. And, you know, he calmed down a lot. He got his head really straight. He focused. Like, even when he went to Specs Howard, I was like, bro, like, you're going to fucking college? He's like, no, man, like, I'm just trying to better myself. And I was like, dude, good for you.
Yeah.
Like, he had his heart in it, man.
Yeah.
He had his fucking heart in music. And that's rare. I mean, how many times do we bitch about musicians, guitar players specifically? He had his fucking heart in it, and that's what kills me the most, is he was robbed of a lifetime of fucking awesome experiences. Like, he was gonna go on the road with Ava doing sound, playing with Buck Cherry, and all the sick shit they're gonna do. He would have been there right now.
Yeah.
And that's what kills me the most. Like, all the bullshit aside, he deserved better, man.
So, you know, before I close this off, you know, like I said before, I want to give a fair shake to the other side. You know, so if Joey, you know, Joe Scroy, Frank Scroy, any of the Scroys, you know, if you want to call in, or if you just want to send me something on Facebook, you know, your side of it, or if you post something on Facebook, I'll relay it this way. You know, and if you don't, that's fine. Just be like, yo, Rikki, shut the fuck up with your dumb podcast and go the fuck away. You know, I want to give that fair opportunity to the other side to.
Hey, like I said,
say their shit.
I'm open to them rebuttaling the fuck out of me.
Yeah.
I'm totally open to it.
Yeah. So open call, and Ritz Hot Rock gone, closed about 5 hours ago now, Eastern Standard Time. Legendary rock venue.
And weren't you the guy that said we had too many venues anyways?
Well, that was at a time that was one of the places, like Blondie's and Harpo's and iRock, you know, kind of went awry at some point or another, but that's a discussion for a different day. Want to shout this out to everybody out there. Sherry Claire is still hanging out. Nolan Gilbert from Oscar Goldman Overdrive. He was saying that he did a documentary on Detroit metal a couple years back that I was in. I was just thinking that this might be a good reason to break my camera out and try another documentary. Good idea.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to close this thing out. We're going to play some Change by Shudder. Guitar
Kelly wrote it.
Kelly wrote this one, and luckily he played this one because if it was the other one, he totally ripped off Dirty Whiskey on that one. But we're going to play Change.
Kelly was like, I'm going to steal that riff and make it better.
He did. He did. So we're going to play Change, get the hell out of here. Next week on the show, well, I don't have any book next week, so I got to get back to work. But September 19th, episode 119, 8 shows from now, we're going to be talking to our first industrial electronic artist, Josie Pace, out of Detroit, Michigan. Sherry Claire hooked that one up as well.
Man, Sherry's just lining them all up for us.
And we're going to get Sherry Claire on the show.
Much appreciated, Sherry. Thank you.
We're going to get Sherry on the show and talk about the glory days of rock and roll back in the new wave bar days before it turned into a hipster joint. Good times. So we're going to get out of here. Change by Shudder. We will talk to you next week right here on the Rikki ROXX Show, ROXX100.com.
I can't change anymore, but you don't like to listen. You just choose to ignore the way you feel. I've been looking for Rikki rocks, Rikki rocks. It's Rikki rocks, coming out of the box. Bitches come in flocks, trying to steal his jocks. He needs to be contained with padded locks. It's the Rikki ROXX Show, spreading like the pox. Rikki rocks, Rikki rocks. Rikki rocks, Rikki rocks, yeah. Rikki rocks, Rikki rocks. Rikki rocks, Rikki rocks, yeah. Rikki rocks up in your grill, motherfucker.
Hey, this is Rikki ROXX, and you are listening to Rocks100.com.